Well, it's been a while. It's been a few Mondays since we've been able to congregate here on this program, and both Alabama and Auburn getting a win at the same time. It's kind of odd. Really don't know how to react.
I didn't know what to do with myself yesterday morning. I really didn't. It's been a lot of consecutive Sundays of some kind of negative, and yesterday it was actually very pleasant.
Yeah, Conrad couldn't get on a message board and talk about how Kalen DeBoer should be fired. Auburn fans, they weren't on the Auburn undercover message board. The Bodagata, talking about, Hugh Freeze should be fired. It was a good weekend if you're a state football fan of the major programs.
Put the pitchforks and the torches away for the time being.
At least for a week.
Right?
Yeah. UAB fans were happy because they didn't have to witness a loss over the weekend, so that was big.
Amen.
Basketball team for UAB won yesterday. That's
Amen.
huge. So, yeah, it's a great weekend.
Was a great weekend.
Yankees go 0-2 in the World Series.
Even better.
Yeah.
Sorry, Conrad.
So,
Not sorry.
Things are trending the right direction.
They really are. You had a solid week in the office football pool.
I was 15-5. I was the only member of the WJOX staff to correctly predict that the Aggies was going to absolutely decapitate LSU over the weekend. All you rest of you losers said that LSU was going to win, so that was big.
Conrad and I were talking about it. How do you have 11 sacks and lose a game?
Have a quarterback that throw 3 interceptions in the second half.
That doesn't
was
help.
the exact answer.
The turnovers certainly didn't help.
And you can't
LSU
run the
took
football.
a page out of Auburn's book.
LSU can't run the football.
No, that was
That's
problematic. Getting beat 31-6 in the second half, that usually doesn't spell for good things to happen, especially in a hostile environment.
No.
So it was a great weekend. I went 15-5, and
I'm right there behind you.
The big pick. So yeah,
I went 14-6.
Did you? I got one game left.
That's the best week I've had all year.
but you predicted LSU would win.
I did.
Yeah.
I think I was pretty solid in our better to forget it too. Do you have those pulled up?
I do not.
Okay. I feel like I went 4-1.
Well, all three of you picked LSU, so let me go ahead and give y'all a loss there.
I broke the curse by picking Missouri, so I got that one wrong.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you did.
I think
And
I took the
then
under.
all of you took the under in the Auburn-Kentucky game.
Hit.
So with that being said, Molly went 4-1 for the week.
Let's
Okay.
go.
Nice.
Landrum went 3-2.
What was the other one I lost?
You lost LSU and Missouri. And then Conrad.
Wait a minute.
Landrum looks concerned.
I thought I took Alabama minus the points.
I had you down for Missouri, but if you say that, then it could have been a typo.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Yeah. I think I did because I said, don't do it. Don't burn me again, Alabama.
If that's the case, then you went 4-1.
Okay. I thought I went 4-1.
I think you're
Didn't-
right because we would joke about how we all had the same picks.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, he's 4-1. Like I said.
Okay, yeah, I also picked Alabama.
No, we know that you didn't.
I took the under in that game though, or did I take Alabama? I think I took the under.
I think you might have taken the under. And without
What'd
looking
you
at it, I
take?
felt like you had a good weekend.
Well, I won't be like Landrum. I'll be honest. I took Missouri, so I
Well,
got that one wrong.
I mean, we have it on a podcast.
No, we
can
don't.
go back and listen.
It's gone.
You've already scrubbed it?
Deleted.
Oh,
Something
how
happened.
convenient.
I didn't do it. Something just happened in the internet.
Okay. Well, anyways.
So you went to 2-3, Conrad.
Should have forgotten.
So why did all you people say that LSU was going to win? I'm very confused by that.
They had so much
I mean,
momentum.
why did Greg McElroy say that LSU was going to win?
Well,
all you people kept giving me these stats. Oh, they've won 8 of their last 10 when they've played against the spread.
Well, you know why?
It was
I picked
actually
LSU.
8 of their last 8.
It was
so
12-1 against the spread in their last 13 games, right? Versus Texas A&M, and A&M was 1-5 in their last 6 games at
and
home.
every
against
time
the
they've
spread.
ever played when they were ranked, LSU won every single time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think it was the black uniforms.
I guess you can throw that trend out.
Yeah, you can throw that trend out. Not a good
Well-
night for Garrett Nussmeier. I had him as my top quarterback in the SEC going into the game and 3 interceptions.
Yeah, because I
That's
remember
gonna
a
hurt.
Pat Ponder's question last week. I think didn't you and Molly both say that Garrett Nussmeier was the best player, should win the Player of the Year award?
Yeah,
Something like that.
it's a week-to-week thing. It's very fluid.
He's no Diego Pavia, though. So
No,
what
he's
you going to
not.
do?
He is not Diego
That was your
Pavia.
player, right? That's who you took.
Yeah, and I know they lost, but he made some big plays.
So I was
Feel good about
noticing in the Las Vegas odds, I think Carson Beck has the best odds of any SEC player to win the Heisman, and it's 7th best.
Man.
Wow.
7th best.
And I mean, rightfully, I mean, he's the quarterback on the best team. I get it, but he hasn't played like a Heisman.
No.
Not at all. But Jalen Milroe has got the 9th best odds.
Yeah, I think that ship has sailed.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
But I think Nussmeier has, I think, the same odds as Jalen Milroe.
Well, and if LSU had been able to hold on and win on Saturday, you imagine he would be very high on that list. But you throw 3 interceptions and lose when you're up 10 at halftime. Going to change some things.
Yeah, not a very good weekend. Molly, you were there at the Alabama game. What did you see from this Alabama football team as they shut out Mizzou 34-0?
For me, the big storyline was the defense. And we kind of knew going in that Brady Cook would not be in the game. At least I think he had 30 yards before he left. And then Drew Pine came out, and I think that's kind of when things started to change. And I appreciate the text, Pat, on his very first pass of the game when Malachi Moore intercepted it. I was screaming next to my friend, "That's a Hewitt Trustful kid."
That's right.
I was very excited.
Pride of Hewitt Trustful right there.
The pride. But
Were you doing that at the end of the Vanderbilt game?
no,
Did something happen at the end of the Vanderbilt game?
I don't remember that game. Will you remind me?
Conrad bringing up old stuff again.
Why are you doing
The
that?
past is in the past.
Remember when Freddie Freeman hit that grand slam?
God. Thought we were going to save that for
Man, we're
tomorrow.
just got the knives out for everybody today. Just everybody.
Pull out your guns. Stick them up. Stick them up.
Yeah, Landrum, you should read the text I sent you on Friday night on the radio right now.
It was actually really funny. I felt for you, kind of.
It was rough.
But I want to go back to something that Molly said about the defense, because don't look now, but the defense, the secondary was supposed to be a problematic venture for this Alabama football team. They're second in the SEC in interceptions. And the amount of turnovers that they have produced of the last 4 games, very impressive. They're getting it done. But this was the first shutout in conference play by an Alabama football team since the COVID year. Pretty amazing.
It's a pretty good team that year.
Pretty good.
You just don't see many shutouts, period, in college football. Whether it's against a
Even if you're playing Group of 5 or
FCS
FCS,
team,
it's tough. Yeah.
it's just
It was only
really tough to keep somebody off the scoreboard.
It was only the 8th shutout for Alabama since 2010.
I believe that.
And there's some really good defenses there. Also thought it was interesting that they bring in the ones back for the goal line stand to try to get that.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that. That's the attitude you want to have right there.
And that's really the Missouri team. And I know that they didn't have Noel, and I realize that Brady Cook was, but that's kind of the Missouri team that I feel like has been getting by this season. I don't think either one of a healthy Cook doesn't make a difference in that game at all. There's nothing remarkable about that Missouri team.
No,
And I'm not taking anything away from what Alabama did. They were dominant. But that Missouri team, it was kind of like, okay, we were waiting for it, and I feel like they got more else coming.
I mean, you kind of knew going in. I mean, unless Luther Burden had 200 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns, it just probably wasn't going to happen.
2 catches, 15 yards.
Yeah,
He was targeted
exactly.
only 3 times.
Exactly.
3 times for 3 yards. That's it.
That is a head scratcher.
Yeah. But then again, I mean, you saw Drew Pine, and that dude couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. So, I mean, you're just kind of.
I want to take you to
there.
August the 13th, 2022, when Notre Dame named Tyler Buckner as its starting quarterback over Drew Pine. Now, let that sink in for a minute. That Tyler Buckner beat Drew Pine for the Notre Dame head quarterbacking position. The then offensive coordinator for Notre Dame, Tommy Rees, said it was a very hard decision.
Well, I'm sure it was.
I don't want either one of these guys.
I can actually see where that was a very difficult decision.
All right, best 2 out of 3. Paper, rock, scissors.
But both teams struggled in the first half. They were 0 for 12 on 3rd down. I mean, both teams just had massive problems.
Jalen Milroe, once again, you got a guy that's wide open. The one that I remember was now you had the impromptu play on the penalty play where I think Missouri was offside,
Yeah.
And he found Emmanuel Henderson inside the 5. And that was a Jalen Milroe-like play.
Yes.
Wasn't your first read, probably not your second, scans the field, finds an open receiver. But you had Ryan Williams that was camped out on one of those, and I swear Manute Bol could not have caught that ball.
Yeah, that one was bad. You had the shot to Prentice down the left sideline that was just out. You had the throw to Bernard in the end zone that was a little over, and that was kind of the thing with Milroe was he was better. He didn't turn the ball over, but some of the accuracy, especially on the deep passes that last year you didn't really have a concern about, still just a tick off on some of those.
Bama 169 yards in the third quarter. They imposed their will there in the second half. So once Cook went out with a couple of hand injuries hitting the helmets, that was pretty much done. But the Auburn Tigers, they went up to Lexington, Kentucky, and it did not look good early, 10-0, as they fell behind the worst offense in the SEC. But then all of a sudden, and I know it will change from game to game, but being able to just feed Jarquez Hunter, something that we have talked about on this show over and over and over again, when you average 12 yards per carry and you put up the 4th most rushing yards in the history of Auburn football against a really good Kentucky defense, this might be what Auburn needs to try to propel itself over the last 4 games.
Yeah, you mentioned it. The lack of success that Auburn was able to have in the first quarter, and then quarters 2 and 3, what they were able to do and piling that up. But still, think about the missed opportunities. And I know Hugh Freeze, that was mismanagement right before the half and not being able to line up for a field goal, whether it was the play call that you had where Peyton Thorne takes a sack and you can't take one in that situation. There's another drive. There were 3 drives, and if you count the one at the end, and Auburn just running out the clock, there were 3 drives where they marched down the field and came away with 0 points. But Jarquez Hunter, he made Kentucky's defense look like they wanted to be somewhere else. Late third, early. It was every time, and you would have 7-8 players that were bottled up at the line of scrimmage, and then all of a sudden, 27 just emerges full head of steam, breaks off a long run.
Well, this is why we've been preaching the whole season about you just keep giving him the football, because in these situations, I mean, he had 3 runs on Saturday that I understand you're not going to have a 50-yard run every single week, but those are the kinds of plays that we've seen him make over his career, and that's why people were getting so frustrated with just keep giving him the ball. Eventually, he's going to break those plays, and you got 3 of them on Saturday, and I mean, that was remarkable performance by him. You could tell that was him saying, you're going to give me the football, I'm going to make sure that you don't look stupid for doing that.
And if you think he was tired from the 23 carries, 278 yards, doesn't count. I'm trying to remember how many passes he caught out of the backfield.
4.
But at the Horn, there on Kroger Field, he does a standing backflip. So he wasn't too tired to do a standing backflip and tote the rock 23 times. He's a beast. Give it to him 30 times versus Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much they're paying Brock Vandegrift at Kentucky.
Yeah, it might be too much.
But
both of those quarterbacks are tough to watch.
What did you think about Mark Stoops, his demeanor on the sideline? Besides just knowing that you're getting punished and there's nothing that you can do about it. I don't know.
No difference in what he looked last week when a bad Florida team was pounding him.
I think for some reason I feel like at the end of the year he might just say, this is it. Adios.
How did you beat Ole Miss and almost beat Georgia?
That is a great question.
That is the most shocking part of all of this.
Meanwhile, Peyton Thorne had the 1 interception. That amazing stat that they said during the broadcast. He's had 41 career interceptions. He's played in 44 games.
It's not good.
I mean, that is amazing. 1 interception per game, basically.
Well, at least you know what you're going to get.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
He hit that guy square in the numbers, too.
It's a great pass.
It was a great
Very
pass.
accurate. Didn't hurt his accuracy rating.
It was, wow.
But to be able to recover from that and shut him out the rest of the way, I mean, I think we all admit that was pretty remarkable for Auburn. And, hey, you got to get that first win somehow, right?
And he had a pretty throw to Keandre Lambert-Smith there in the end zone.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a great play. Great play. Well, if you need somewhere to catch, whether it's the World Series this week, college football, Monday Night Football, there's a number of great options for you at Twin Peaks and Hoover. So you need to get your axe to the lodge for some of their new menu additions, including their new wing sauces, the chicken tikka and spicy chili crisp sauces. They also have their new flatbread options, including the backyard barbecue brisket flatbreads, and their new quesabria tacos featuring the in-house smoked brisket and birria broth for dipping. Those are some of the wonderful menu options you can check out when you visit our friends at Twin Peaks and Hoover. They also sponsor our daily 3-man front Twitter poll question of the day, Molly. And I believe our Monday question has to do with Auburn.
Oh, yes, it does. Now that Auburn has ended their 4-game losing streak, what will be their final regular season record? Will it be 7-5, 6-6, 5-7, or 4-8? And right now, winning with 50.6% of our voters saying 5-7, 26.2 saying 4-8, 19 saying 6-6, and 4.2 saying 7-5.
Okay, so that's 23% of the audience believes that Auburn will become bowl eligible, which, I know it was a bad Kentucky team, but Auburn needed a win for them to try to get any type of momentum here on the back end of the season. Exactly what they needed coming back home, playing Vanderbilt. I'm a little bit surprised that more people don't see this as an opportunity, especially down the stretch, but maybe based on what they saw, that Texas A&M game is going to be problematic for Auburn.
This seemed like one of those games setting up because while they've been saying all the right things and while the morale on the team, the locker room was still together, you felt like this was a spirit breaker game if somehow you weren't able to beat a team that you knew you matched up well with, even on the road. And for Auburn to get that win, it gives you confidence going back home, and you've got 3 of your final 4 where you're going to play there at Jordan-Hare Stadium. And maybe that's enough to get a Vanderbilt team that I was actually a little bit surprised that Auburn was favored when the line came out yesterday.
5.5. It might have gone more this morning. I haven't looked.
I thought it would have been closer to a pick'em, or maybe even Vanderbilt favored. Jordan-Hare has not been kind to Auburn this year.
No, it hasn't. But maybe Vandy down the stretch will be the real Vandy.
Maybe so. I'll fade Auburn.
I thought you would change your stripes after last weekend. You said you're going to keep fading them until they won.
Well, I didn't exactly fade them. I took the under, but it's just I can't pick them. Minus 5.5 at home against Vandy. We've seen this before. I've seen Diego Pavia in that stadium.
He likes playing there. All right, when we come back on 3-Man Front, we'll open up the phone lines, 1-800-239-WJOX, the Courtesy GMC text line as well, 205-834-9450. Bottom of the hour, Charlie Potter will join us from Bama Online. There is no Kalen DeBoer presser today. He's actually in Birmingham speaking to the Birmingham Quarterback Club. So there will be some sound a little bit later on from Kalen DeBoer, but he is not having his weekly press conference. Matter of fact, the players, I think they're off like 4 days this week where they're not practicing at all. So they're trying to get this team healthy before they head to Baton Rouge. 11 o'clock, we will hear from Hugh Freeze, his weekly press conference. 1 o'clock, Bill Clark will join us. This is Reaction Money. Love to hear from you on this Monday. This is Jocks 94.5. So what's happening down in Orlando, Florida? I got another firing. No, it was not Gus Malzahn, but he did fire his defensive coordinator today.
The roof is on fire.
Yep. Ted Roof is no longer employed. Was that the second or third time that Gus Malzahn has had him under his staff?
I think second time.
Second time?
Ted Roof, man, he's been around. Penn State,
Georgia Tech.
He was somewhere else. Trying to remember. Was he at Miami at one time?
I think he was at Duke.
Yeah, Duke. Been a lot of places.
Someone has to be the fall guy, right?
Yeah. Check out Mandu in downtown Homewood. Mandu is electrical muscle stimulation fitness. You can still get in there and take advantage of some of their October deals. When you go to Mandu, they're going to put you in a suit. They're going to hook you up to a machine that sends electric pulses to various parts of your body. Greatest part, besides the results that you're going to get, is it's 15 minutes. 15 minutes of your day. Anybody can carve that out. But to actually get results, it's Mandu in downtown Homewood, MANDUU. You can follow them at Mandu Homewood on Instagram and also on Facebook. Take advantage of so many great opportunities. And with the holidays coming up, a lot of overeating is going to take place. Go ahead and get a head start. Mandu and Homewood, MANDUU.com.
Let's go to the phones. 1-800-239-WJOX. Crimson Convict will get us started on this Reaction Monday.
Crimson Convict, what's up?
I can't call it, man. Yeah, I was down there Saturday. I didn't see Molly.
I don't know if she was there or not. She told everybody she was going. Were you really there?
I was there.
Okay.
I was watching Nebraska, though, for the first part of the day.
Of course you were. Yeah, of course you were. Now, they look better. Listen, guys, penalties are still a concern, though. Milroe finally ran the football.
Mm-hmm.
I was happy to see that. But I'm going to be honest with you, man. This is a shell of a Missouri team than they were at the first of the year. I mean, that one interception, the first one Malachi got, I'm sure he was thinking, Brady, where the hell are you doing the football? I got on a Crimson jersey. I mean, because he dumped it right on him.
Yeah, that was – I know that they're a shell, but have you kind of felt the way I have this year about Missouri? It was – they won close games, nothing super flashy. You struggle with Boston College for a while. You win by 3, and albeit you win over a Vanderbilt team last week, what we saw against Auburn, I don't know. I've just never been enamored with Missouri, and the talk of them going to a college football playoff this year, even with their schedule, I thought was kind of a joke. But Alabama did what they had to do.
They did. But you know what? Missouri's that top team. When you're not picking them, they come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then when they have all the pieces back, they seem to crap the bed.
Yeah.
And they do that often. I will say this, man. I'm interested to see Gus Malzahn's presser because he reminds me of that kid that you just keep telling him, hey, if you'll cut the grass this way, it'll go a lot easier. And they just keep saying, no, I'm going to do it my way. And then finally he does it. I would really love to see if he actually admits fault on that or if he finds some way to frame it to where he saw looks that finally gave him the ability to give Jarquez the ball. And one more point, no disrespect to Clark Lee, but right now Mike Elko's got Coach of the Year honors, in my opinion.
I don't think there's any doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And he didn't do us any favors because I will say this, knocking off a top 7 or 8 LSU team is going to look a lot better on Bama's resume than knocking off a top 15. And let me ask you something, Pat. Do you think that's going to hurt us with them coming in with 2 losses?
No doubt. Absolutely. I mean, LSU, this is the lack of respect that the nation had for LSU. They fell 9 spots in the polls yesterday. 9.
Oh, my God. I didn't see it.
If that tells you right there what – and, again, those polls make no difference whatsoever because the College Football Playoff Committee, a week from tomorrow, they're going to give their first rankings. So you're going to have a better indication of where they are. But I'm starting to see projections right now that the SEC is only going to get 3 teams in. That's what I'm seeing right now.
If that's the case, Bama's done.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Yeah, the 3 that they've got in right now is Georgia, obviously Texas A&M, and Texas. Those are the only 3 that I'm seeing right now in the conference going on. So, yeah, now that hurt Alabama. Now, of course, the LSU people are going to prop it up and they're going to say, well, we've said from the get-go that this was going to be an elimination game anyway. But just keep holding out hope for that. But Texas A&M is going to have that tiebreaker over LSU. And so Texas A&M, unless something drastic happens over the course of the next 3 weeks, I think Texas A&M is going to be right there in the mix above an LSU or Alabama.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, man. I mean, we need some help, and I hate putting destiny in other people's hands, but it appears that's what we're going to have to do. I'll try to catch up with y'all tomorrow, guys.
Sounds
appreciate
good.
you.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. So, Landrum, I was sitting here looking at the Ted Roof file. He played at Georgia Tech, and I completely forgot he was a GA at Alabama.
I totally forgot that as well. I don't know if I ever knew that.
He has been at Duke. He has been at UMass, Western Carolina, Georgia Tech, Minnesota, Auburn, Central Florida, Penn State, back to Georgia Tech, NC State, App State, Vanderbilt, Clemson, Oklahoma, and then UCF again.
Wow.
He is the John Chavis of SEC and defensive coordinators, because John Chavis, once he left Tennessee, then he ended up going to LSU. And then from LSU, he ended up, I think, at Arkansas. I think that's where he finished his career. Then, he's been in the UFL. But my gosh, Ted Roof has been everywhere.
I was trying to think of a section of the country maybe he could go and try out. Maybe the Pacific Northwest.
Would you like to take a guess what his overall head coaching record is?
How many years?
51 games as a head football coach.
51 games.
Mm-hmm.
Pat is
18 and 33.
15 and 36.
Molly?
Well, I have it pulled up.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I was looking at his
Okay.
previous schools also.
Yeah. 6 and 45.
Well, there's some really close losses.
Getting into Chad Moore's territory, I see.
6 and 45 as a head coach.
Yeah, but did you see the APR of those teams?
Well, he was the head coach at Duke.
They got it done in the classroom.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. All right, when we come back on three-man front, Charlie Potter is going to join us from Bama Online. We'll ask him, what does Alabama have to do to get back into the conversation for a college football playoff bid? That's next on this Reaction Money. This is Jocks 94.5. 1032 Jocks 94.5. All this reaction money. We'll check in with Charlie Potter from Bama Online, get his thoughts on Alabama's win against Mizzou. LSU on deck next. You see the warning signs, windows and doors that stick, cracks in the brick or block, leaning over those bowling walls in the basement, settling or sinking. How much time before that minor repair will become a serious structural damage? You can't afford to wait. Call APS today for a free estimate, 205-951-9717. Foundation problems don't get better with time. They get better when you call APS. Do it today, 205-951-9717. Or you can visit their website at alabamaprofessional.com.
We're now joined by Charlie Potter, senior writer for Bama Online, a part of On3 Sports. He joins us as all of our guests do on the Buyers Right Hotline. Charlie, how are you on this Monday?
I'm great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, appreciate you joining us. Well, Saturday in Tuscaloosa, it wasn't perfect, but anytime you pitch a shutout, doesn't matter who is playing quarterback for the other team, the amount of injuries that are out there, you get the running game going, you get some shades of the Jalen Milroe that we have become accustomed to seeing, especially last season. I think there's a lot of positives that Kalen DeBoer and this team can take away from a big SEC win.
Yeah, no doubt. Anytime you can put a 0 up on the scoreboard for the opposing team, it's a job well done. I thought the defense played really well. And look, Brady Cook was in the game for the first half. And, I know that the reports came out earlier in the week that, he was doubtful to play, but it just kind of felt like that was never going to be the case. And it wasn't his ankle that was the issue. He got banged up a couple times because of what Alabama was able to do from a pressure standpoint. So that was that obviously changed the game. I mean, Drew Pine didn't have a great day by any stretch of the imagination, but Alabama's defense made plays when it needed to. And look, Alabama's defense was banged up on the back end. You had Bray Hubbard making his first start. I thought he played well. He had one of the 3 interceptions, and that defense has been really opportunistic here of late. I've thought that since the Vanderbilt game, they've played steadily better. They've had 10 turnovers over the last 3 games. They're up to 18, which is the most in the SEC. I think it's tied for 4th nationally. At least I put that out this morning. I hope I'm right. But yeah, they've played better. I think offensively, it was good to see the ground game start to kind of get rolling there. They had the most rushing yards since week 1 against Western Kentucky. With Jalen Milroe, you had Cole Adams go out early, like kind of move some guys around from a rotational standpoint, and it seemed like there was some miscommunication and even some drops from the receivers, but he needs to continue to get better. I think he was 2 of 6 on shots down the field, so a better performance, no turnovers for him, but the offense I think still has work to do, and I think the bye week comes at a good time to work on a lot of that.
All right, so in regards to the offensive point of view, you got a lot of questions on this radio show, a lot about Jalen Milroe maybe not running the ball as much as he did in the Georgia game. Do you think that was the game plan specifically for Georgia? Because I think fans have been anticipating that you're going to get a lot more of Jalen Milroe on those quarterback runs, and we haven't seen that. Is it an opportunistic type of game plan depending on the opponent, or you just think they're trying to keep him upright, keep him healthy to try to get to the end of the season?
It's probably a little of both. I think if you're willing to run your quarterback against Georgia, you can do it against anyone. But that's just me. I'm not in those, coaching meetings or anything like that. I don't pretend to know more than they do. I know there's a lot of questions about his health. I think he's good to go. Nobody's 100% this time of year, but I think Jalen, wants to prove he's a downfield passer. And I do think that Alabama knows that one of his biggest strengths is what he can do with his legs. We heard from Kalen DeBoer earlier in the week talking about that and how they need to get back to doing what he does best. I thought early you could see they were trying to just get him kind of going, get him in a rhythm and get some confidence with some short passes. It seemed like Alabama was just kind of going death by 1,000 cuts there early in the game against Missouri. But, the deep balls haven't been as on point. I felt like he was really close hitting a couple. The one to Kobe Prentice was just outside his hands, and I think he had another one to Ryan, just sitting here thinking off the top of my head back to the game. But, I do think that for this offense to be successful and for Jalen to be at his best, you have to do what he does best, and that's explosive plays with his legs and arms. And we haven't seen that as much here of late. I think, though, you look at this is a similar situation as going into that Georgia game that you just mentioned. You have a bye week, and then now, heck, Texas A&M almost gave you the blueprint of what you need to do against this LSU defense, and Alabama has arguably the nation's best rushing quarterback to maybe try to duplicate some of that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this week. I think the bye week will help Jalen in a lot of ways, both just to get some rest and to work on some of his own issues. And I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying he's going to come out and play like he did against Georgia, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some of the same things that they tried to do against the Bulldogs here in a couple weeks in Baton Rouge.
And Charlie, you mentioned Texas A&M and kind of the blueprint to what to do against this LSU team. And I totally agree. I thought that not only Jalen Milroe using his legs and carried it 11 times for 50 yards, but I thought that Jam Miller was sensational in that game and just kind of imposing his will at times. We saw it on a couple of runs, and Justice Haynes as well. How much of that just from those two do you think we see moving forward? Because it seems like Alabama found something there on Saturday.
Yeah, I think it was one of the more encouraging signs from the game. And I think that they want to be balanced. I think that's been the case all year long. It's just, when you have a quarterback like Jalen Milroe who is not even on design runs, he's going to eat up some carries. It's tough to get that going sometimes. I still don't think they've had more than 20 carries since early in the season. They had that stretch where they had 3 games with 11 total, talking about Jam and Justice combined. I think they had under 20 this past game, which wasn't necessarily needed because you had the reserves come in late and saw some good things from Richard Young and Daniel Hill. But no, I think getting those guys going, getting an offensive line out in front and moving some people is an encouraging sign. I thought Tyler Booker and Parker Brailsford did some really good things in the run game. Robbie Utes, Kendrick Law is always going to get his head in there and do some dirty work. But I thought the running was better. I think the long touchdown run from Justice Haynes was a very encouraging sign. They just need more of those explosive plays. I think they had 8 runs of 10 or more yards, and Alabama's starting to pile some of those up just in terms of explosives. And if they can keep doing that, that's going to help out this offense, this passing attack, and ultimately Jalen Milroe with what he needs to do from the quarterback position.
Target and Charlie Potter, Bama Online, joins us here on 3-Man Front on Reaction Mondays. So if there's one position group going out of the fall camp into the actual season, what position group has surprised you the most? It could be a good surprise or it could be a disappointment. Which position group has, I guess, surprised you the most?
It's tough. I think in a positive way, you maybe look at the inside, or not the inside backers, sorry, the bandit position.
Okay.
What they've been able to do just from looking at LT Overton and Jamarian Latham, you just didn't know what to expect from that position group. It was kind of new. You have that kind of defensive end, and I think those guys have done a good job. Now, both of them made some big plays in the Missouri game. From maybe a disappointment standpoint, that's tough. You maybe look at the running backs just because of what they've been able to do from a production standpoint, but what we just talked about, they're kind of trending in the right direction. So I think also looking at the secondary, that was a huge question mark for this team going into the season. And kind of what we talked about at the top, they've been very opportunistic in terms of turnovers. No Keon Sabb because he's going to be down for a while with an injury, but you got a couple picks from Malachi Moore in the last 2 weeks. Damani Jackson has a couple in the season. We've seen Xavier Brown come up with big plays. I think those young corners especially have started to get a little more comfortable. And I don't want to say that's a strength of this defense by any stretch at this point, but I think that the secondary has gotten better over the course of the season. So, they're going to take their lumps. There's some young players, new guys, but I think right there from the defensive standpoint, what they've been able to do maybe off the edge with losing so much from last year's team, in the corner, the same thing. I think the way that those two groups have kind of come into their own has been a little bit of a pleasant surprise for Alabama.
Charlie, as you know, our perception of teams, it changes in college football from week to week. And part of that, it makes it so much fun. This Alabama team, after the win over Missouri Saturday, do you believe that they're a playoff-worthy football team in your eyes right now?
I do. They have the best win of any team in the country, beating Georgia at home. I think the Vanderbilt loss looks better and better every week because the Commodores have been playing really well. I think that's proven not to be a fluke. And I know I've said it. A lot of people have said it. The word embarrassing was used after that. But the Vandy's proving that they're, more of a constant than an anomaly, I guess, when it comes to SEC play. So I think so. I mean, obviously the margin for error is slim. You have one more loss and you're out of the picture. I mean, this game at LSU in a couple weeks is an elimination game from a playoff standpoint. But I think if Alabama wins out, I think they deserve it. Yeah, and I think if they win out, I think that's a sign that this team is continuing to improve. The LSU game is going to be the toughest one on the schedule, but you got to go to Norman. You have the Iron Bowl at the end of the year. If Jalen Milroe can, continue to get out of this funk that he's been in, if this defense can continue on its positive trajectory, and if they can continue to run the ball like they did against Missouri, especially in the second half, this team's going to be tough to beat. So, yeah, I think if they handle business, they should be in the 12-team playoff. But, we've seen just from the SEC alone, there's a lot of worthy teams out there.
Yeah, that was my next question is just as we stand today, how many do you anticipate on that selection Sunday? How many get in from the SEC?
I think minimum probably 4.
Okay.
I wouldn't be shocked if it's more. You look at it right now, I mean, Georgia and Texas feel like the safest bets, but then the way A&M's been playing here of late, and hell, they might get to Atlanta for the first time as an SEC team. So I think Alabama could definitely be that 4th team if they beat LSU. I wouldn't be shocked if there's conversation for maybe a 5th. So I think right now 4 feels safe, but there's still a lot of football to be played. I think this team could definitely do, or this league can definitely do a lot more beating up on itself here in the last month of the season.
Well said. Charlie Potter, senior team writer, Bama Online, a part of the On3 Sports Network, at Charlie_Potter on X. Charlie, we always appreciate the time. Thank you. Have a great week.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
Charlie Potter joining us, as all of our guests do, on the Buyers Right Hotline. For all of your insurance, financial, and HR needs, it's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner.
So I know it's been very drought for most of the state and around the Birmingham area. You got trees right now that are losing their leaves, but you know what? Those trees are going to show you some signs of some wear and tear and maybe some problems on the horizon. That's why you need to call Golston Tree Service, because Golston Tree Service, they can not only trim your hedges or shape those trees, but they can take out those trees that could be problems for your home or your property. So call them today, 205-337-4018. They're operated by a certified arborist, which means they're going to give you the best opinion possible when it comes to what needs to happen with your trees, whether the tree can be saved or it needs to be removed. They will remove the tree, they will grind the stump and the roots out, and they'll haul everything off for you. I've had a couple of trees taken down on my property, and they did it early in the morning. By the time I got home from work, I couldn't even tell, for the exception of the tree not being there any longer, how well that they cleaned up and they took care of business. They also have 24-hour emergency service. So over 35 years of experience. Call Golston Tree Service today, 205-337-4018.
It is Reaction Monday. You want to react to what you saw this past weekend, you're welcome to do so. The phone lines are open, 800-239-WJOX. The text line, and we'll get to your text, 205-834-9450. Reaction Monday, 3-man front in Jocks 94.5.
Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll hear from Hugh Freeze, his weekly press conference. A reminder, Kalen DeBoer will not have a weekly press conference this week. He's actually here in Birmingham speaking to the Birmingham Touchdown Club. So he'll be, matter of fact, won't hear from him until Wednesday morning at the SEC coaches teleconference.
You think he'll wear a tie, or is he just going to go
at the teleconference?
No, at the quarterback club, or does he go hoodie, or just black compression shirt?
No, I think he is. I think he'll be in coat and tie.
From daily exercisers and youth athletes to elite professionals, UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine treats everyone with the same level of exceptional care with board-certified professionals, state-of-the-art imaging and injury prevention programs. Their comprehensive team is here to keep you in the game. Visit uabmedicine.org/sports or call 205-930-8339 to make an appointment. UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine, knowledge moving medicine forward.
Okay, so we told you about 30 minutes ago that news was coming out of Orlando, Florida, that Gus Malzahn was making a change at defensive coordinator. Ted Roof has been let go. Well, just in from Orlando, and he is making a change as the play calling duties have now been taken away from Tim Harris Jr. Gus Malzahn will call the plays now for the Central Florida Knights.
Good news for Central Florida. Your first drive of the game will look flawless. It will look perfect. After that, you might be right back where you are. BYU just took them to the woodshed. And now Gus Malzahn is facing his first losing season as a college coach. You remember he won his first 2 years there.
Yep.
6 wins last year.
They switch leagues.
And yeah, and I'm thinking best case scenario right now, given who they have left, you split those games and finish 5-7.
In this day and age of college football, I think it was a great hire by Central Florida. I think Gus Malzahn's a good football coach.
Mm-hmm.
There's no patience anymore.
No.
And especially with them moving on to the Big 12 and the fact that they have a pretty decent NIL in Central Florida. And so Orlando, Florida, recruiting, you're a Power 4 program. I'm not saying he's on the hot seat, but just based on what you see in college football now, it would not shock me in the least.
There's 2 things that he's got working for him. Number one, he has a great relationship with the athletic director.
Most definitely.
So he will be given at least one more season to try to get this thing righted. The other thing, Pat, that he has going for him is the state of football that Florida State is in, and to some degree, the Florida Gators are in.
But you went to Gainesville and you did not beat a Florida team.
This is true.
That is not good.
No, they're not.
And when you have the fans in the bounce house chanting "Fire Gus" as they're walking off the field, I mean, if you're an athletics director and you're standing on the sideline or near a tunnel after a game that you were not very competitive in, and you have some boisterous fans that are screaming certain things to a football coach, you can't help but deny what some of the people are saying and what they want done.
No doubt. And so then is it a conversation that they have where, and I don't even know where you would go at this point. I mean, it's his offense. Whatever they run, it's going to be based off of his concepts. I don't know if he was still calling plays officially or not. We've been through that before.
Well, it's so funny because him and Hugh Freeze have always, and of course, you just look at their history. Both guys are basically the same type of coach, and they always want to tell people that, oh yeah, this person's calling the plays, and then you watch the game, and whether it's Gus Malzahn or Hugh Freeze, they're the ones calling the plays. I mean, it's just it's ridiculous how they keep trying to make you think that somebody else is doing the calls,
or they give you 3 different plays that you have the option to call in that situation.
Yeah, so technically, I guess you are making the call, but I mean, it's their programs.
And I know this is a totally different topic, and I've told you this off the air, but I always, even with the wins that he had and what he did at Ole Miss and the wins over Saban at Alabama, I always viewed Hugh Freeze as a poor man's Gus Malzahn. And if you don't like that comment, sorry, but that's genuinely how I felt about Hugh Freeze. It was nothing that was just, wow.
Well, Gus Malzahn has played for a national championship, and he played for SEC championships, something that Hugh Freeze has never done and will not do this year.
Let's go to Glenn. He's in Denver listening on the Jocks 94.5 app. Hey, Glenn.
Hey, good morning, guys. Hope everyone had a great weekend and hope your Monday's going really well.
You as well.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, I want to bring in the analogy, and I don't want to confuse people because I'm still learning some of this, but, you know, on the side, I trade stocks, and one reason why I love it is because stocks are just a reflection of the psychology of the masses. And it's the same with sports teams. And there's a saying when you're looking at a stock that stocks usually revert back to their mean, which means they're always going to go back down or back up to where most people think where it should be traded. And so when I look at Alabama, I'm seeing an Alabama team that has reverted back to its mean or back to its average. And unless there's an outside force or influence that pushes a stock or pushes an athletic team to either do better or do worse, they're going to stay in their means. And so I watched the first half, like you guys did, and I watched Milroe constantly telegraph where he was going to throw the ball. It was a no-brainer to me. He looked left, he threw it left. He looked right, he threw it right. And so I'm seeing a team that, unless there's some kind of influence that comes in and pushes these guys to get out of themselves and to do better, we're not going to improve. We're not going to beat LSU in Baton Rouge, and we're not going to go to the playoffs. I just don't see this team unless something else comes in. Guys, what we're seeing now, this is where they are now. This is their mean. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of. I need more optimism out of you, Glenn.
Well, here's the
when you're coaching up those third
is,
graders, are you coming with that pessimistic attitude?
No, but it's like what I told the team yesterday. I was really blunt with them because we put in a lot of time. I said, look, some of you want to be here, some of you don't. And with those who want to be here, we're going to help you be your best, and we're going to help you win the game. And something needs to happen to this team. Either Milroe needs to step out as a leader, someone needs to step out, bring some kind of influence to disrupt what's going on and get these kids out of themselves.
We're awaiting Hugh Freeze weekly press conference from the plains of Auburn. A special happy birthday goes out to Gus Malzahn today. He's 59.
Stinks when you have to.
I like how that was just now mentioned.
Make changes.
He's 59 years old, and he fires his defensive coordinator today, and he takes over the play calling duties. So happy birthday to himself.
He's got plenty of money. But all ends tomorrow. Ted Roof's going to be fine.
Yes.
All of these coaches, for the most part, they're going to be fine. Unless you're a GA and you're living in the locker room, you're going to be okay.
Well, the thing I'm worried about Ted Roof and his family is because he has been at so many different schools. I just worry that he's able to, land enough years of the state retirement system for one of those states.
Does he have a real estate agent that is licensed in all 50 states?
It must
they
be
just
something
travel with
like
him?
that.
Or he just lives in a caravan.
Feel bad for his kids moving around every single grade growing up. Be rough.
Yeah, but they say if you ever get the chance, travel. Experience.
Yes.
Was he there?
New landscapes.
No, this lovely picture of him is.
Okay.
Well, the press conferences, whether it's Hugh Freeze, whether it's Kalen DeBoer on Mondays, here on Jock 94.5, they're brought to you by Evolve IT. At Evolve IT, they're your MVPs for all things tech, like network management, cybersecurity, keeping your business systems running smoothly. No fumbles, no downtime, just expert support right here in Birmingham. They're local, so when you call, they're going to have you up and running in no time. Evolve IT, they're ready to take your tech game to the next level. You can check them out online, evolvebhm.com. That's evolvebhm.com, or call 205-749-8970. That's Evolve IT.
So Hugh Freeze, he looked like he still wasn't feeling very well during the game. He seemed happier after the game, but he flew up with athletic director John Cohen earlier on the day on Saturday because he had been under the weather, had a stomach virus. I don't know if it was food poisoning or just a virus in general, but made his way up to Lexington, Kentucky. So we're waiting him to get behind the microphone down at Auburn, and we will hear him discuss Auburn's 24-10 victory against the Kentucky Wildcats in the night that Jarquez Hunter had 278 yards, 12 yards per carry. It's the most rushing yards by any FBS player this year, and it's the fourth most in the history of Auburn football. So just an incredible night for Jarquez Hunter.
It was an incredible night. And of all of the matchups that we looked and we said, okay, Auburn's got to run the ball more, this would have been one of the more least likely in my eyes against that defense. We'll head to Auburn right now. Hugh Freeze, his weekly press conference.
One that I thought our kids did a lot of really, really good things in, and thought the plan offensively, defensively, and special teams by our staffs was a really solid plan after watching the film. And we had some good answers to things that they tried to do. And it was a team that had been very, very difficult to rush the football against in all the games they played, with the exception of the Florida game. And I thought we did that better than most have done in really several years against them. And I think Mark and them do a great job, and just really proud of our kids, because reality is down 10-0 with an interception that could have grown. A lot of teams, after going through the disappointments we've gone through and losing difficult games this year, could have easily said, oh my, and it could have gotten away from us, and our kids chose to fight. And I think it's a testament to the character on this team and what we're trying to build here. So very, very, very thankful and pleased with a lot of things that happened in that game. I know that, I thought it was a dominating second half from the start to the finish. With the exception of that one drive when we went up 2 scores, I started thinking, man, what we had totally just stoned them, for like every possession, and then all of a sudden we go up 2 scores, and is this the same team? What are we doing? And then man, get down there and have the 4 down stops inside the 2 was just so encouraging and exciting. And I don't know if you know, I think there were 6 freshmen on the field for those 4 stops. So a lot to build on there. And I did ask our defensive staff yesterday in the meeting, you know, all right, you got to tell me, like, what was there anything different? What did they try to do something different, or did we call different stuff? All of a sudden they start moving the ball, and the reality is, you know, they obviously showed me the tape of it, and I mean, they completed a fluke 3rd down. The ball's wobbling like end over end, and that was the biggest play of the drive, and they popped a good run. But to see us get that 4th down stop was really encouraging, and the way we found a way to finish should help us build confidence moving forward into even more of a difficult stretch of games that we have coming ahead. I mean, Jarquez's performance, one of the best in school history. I think it's the most rushing yards against an FBS team in SEC play in history of Auburn, I believe, is what I was just told. I've got some great announcements coming earlier. It was the 4th most in school history, and his second half performance is the best in school history. So that's great for Jarquez. I think he took the lead in maybe rushing in the SEC after the game, I believe. I think he'll be announced as Offensive Player of the Week later on today, and also Tutal will be announced offensive lineman, and then Keldrick Falk, defensive lineman. So looks like we swept those awards this week, so that's good to see. And I think Jay Crawford is maybe national freshman of the week. He's getting better and better. So a lot of good things. Obviously excited for our fans. So many made the trip. That was pretty amazing to see. Well, I've gotten used to it now. We have the greatest fans, and really excited to be back in Jordan-Hare after what seems like a year. And we'll need them Saturday. We need them to make it loud Saturday and make it difficult for the opponent that's coming in here, which is Vandy, and obviously they're playing at an extremely high level right now.
Hugh, you talked about how you guys had more success running the ball than pretty much anybody had against Kentucky. I mean, I know you don't want to give away all the strategy and all that, but what do you think was the difference? Like, why you guys were able to be as effective as you were running it against them?
Well, the plan was really good, and then our kids executed it. And we've got really good running backs, you know, but our O-line really played one of their better games, and we showed a few different things, but when it came down to it, truthfully, it was more. It wasn't like it was extremely fancy runs. It was mostly inside zones that we just blocked up really well, and then our guys made the first guy miss, and created some explosive runs. So, but it starts up front. The tight ends blocked one of their better games for sure, and our running backs, you know, ran it really, really well. Peyton, when we called upon him to run it, had some nice runs too to kind of get a few first downs here and there.
Two quick things. One, I guess just in your past experience, what makes Diego Pavia so hard to play against? And second, you know, you mentioned Jay Crawford being freshman of the week. What have you seen from him this season do you think's made him such a good player as a freshman right away?
Well, he's got talent for sure. We knew that, but it's a maturing process of learning how to practice and how to focus on the technique that you need with every given call. And we're still not perfect at that by any means, playing so many young kids and even our older kids. I mean, but he's getting better and better each week with, all right, man, I've got to play outside tip right here, or I've got to play inside tip here, or I need to play off here, or I need to play press bail here. All of that stuff's moving really, really fast for a freshman with the hundreds of different calls that you make. And then not to just mention the number of calls, but it's the call is based on, well, what do they come out in? And, we got to change that. I mean, they're in a tight formation. That totally changes the call. And, man, there's a lot of moving parts for those young kids. And he just, he's getting more used to the game and more used to the system. And you combine that with his talent, and he's getting better. And then to answer number one, I'm sick of seeing that quarterback. I've had enough of him, and what a competitor he is, and the job that Clark Lee and his staff have done there. Man, to be in the games and have a chance to win all the games they're playing against the nation's elite is just so impressive. And I don't know, what year is this for Clark? Third or fourth? Fourth year. I do think it speaks to, and I know nobody likes to hear this, but man, good coaches, which there's no bad ones in this league. I mean, you get time to really establish your culture and your locker room and people that believe in your system. You should be, better when that fourth year rolls around for sure. And I think that's definitely happening there. And boy, they're just playing with so much confidence, and they know who they are. One of the scariest things, I mean, you're basically playing Navy. It doesn't look just like Navy, but you're not. I mean, Alabama had 44 real snaps of offensive football against them. Last year when we played him, the first time we touched the ball in the first quarter, I believe, was with 5 minutes and 5 seconds left. That's uncomfortable. And so they know who they are, and they're good being who they are. And so, and then he moves and makes plays and is savvy and smart and tough, and again, makes everybody do their assignment on every single play, or you get burned, and it's 3 yards here even on a broken play, and then it's 4 yards, and it's 3rd and 3, and they get 3.5. And a lot of it's, due to their system, which they're very well coached. And, they got my offensive line coach there from Liberty. He was with me at Liberty, Coach Klanakis, and he's doing a heck of a job. He's one heck of a coach, and he's doing a great job with their offensive line in the run game. And have respect for Jerry Keel for sure, and Tim Beck, and obviously Clark, I think, is one of the best head coaches in the game.
As important as field position is, I believe it's 3 straight games where your opening kickoff return is a penalty and you're starting 90.
Did you see my reaction on that this time?
Yeah.
Me and Tanner had a discussion on that one.
But I mean, is it something that almost makes you think, all right, we're just gonna take.
I've begged him
25.
Yeah, it was no more of that after that one. I assure you, we're not doing that anymore. If I have to start another possession inside the 25 because we have a penalty on a return, I think I'm gonna I'm gonna lose it now. You that has to stop.
And how much does that affect your script and?
Everything. It affects everything. You just and then it usually affects the next possession because you're going to put your defense about midfield, and that's where the first 10 points came from. So it's just we can't keep offensively. I don't know where we've got to be one of the top in the nation on fewest penalties. We're not terrible on defense either, but special teams, we have way too many penalties this year. And if it means us staying in the end zone, then stay in the end zone. Let's just fair catch the ball and give it to us on the 25 and let us go from there. So we've got to get that cleaned up for sure. And we got to start being consistent in field goal attempts also, which I think Alex is getting closer and closer to being himself. He had enough leg on the one he missed, just pulled it a little. But we had 2 penalties. We lost field position on the punt return. Keontae returned the punt to midfield, and we start on the 8. So I mean, those in these games, those are critical.
Hugh, a lot of pictures and videos of players and staff and even, you with just seemed like relief Saturday after you walk away with first SEC win. Is that the sense Saturday night and even coming into this week? It's like, all right, we got the one, and then the back half of the season's kind of wide open?
Yeah, to answer relief, yes. It's just I said this last week, and I mean it. I've just never experienced a season where every single game that I want to phrase this right so people don't misquote me or whatever, but every single game that we had a legitimate chance to win. You've watched them. We had legitimate chances to win like every game we've been in. Maybe not Georgia, but I think that one would have been really close too had we not given up that score right before half on that fluke, whoever he was throwing it to. And because we came out and we stopped them and then we scored, and the score would have been 10-7 us. And I'd love to have seen that, but but every other one, we had a legitimate chance to win. And I'm not saying that we should have won them or we're better, but we had a legitimate chance to win those, and not a single one went our way. And then some of the ways they ended were just like gut punches. And like we just haven't learned how to win yet. And so I told them at halftime it was time for them to experience what it's like to find a way to win. And that's where the joy came from, truthfully, is again, I just mentioned how many freshmen we were playing on that last drive there defensively, and so it was the joy came from seeing them get to experience what it's like to finish a game.
You just wanted to ask you about Kieran Crawford. Looked like maybe he had some struggles early, but maybe turned a corner.
Best game he's had here by far. I don't know, seemed relaxed. DJ used him a little different ways. It seemed more comfortable. And, Keldrick Fall got 2 sacks and is going to get player of the week. And obviously we love Keldrick. He's the most solid player we have. But the reason he got both those sacks, if you go watch the film, is Kieran Crawford flushed him right to him. So I thought it was Kieran's best game for sure.
Hey, offensively, you start that game pitching the ball around and really not going anywhere. Did you kind of feel like, here we go again? Or were you thinking about, hey, maybe we're going to start gapping him in the run game?
No one had really gashed them in the run game, and so I didn't go in I always go in thinking we have a good plan and we've got to be balanced and run it. But I did want to start the game trying to throw the football on them, and that didn't work out so well to start it like that. So pretty quickly after the first quarter, the first quarter flew by. And but I think I told the sideline young lady that was doing that broadcast that we've got to right now establish the run if we're going to be in this game. And then started finding out, man, our guys they're handling them up front pretty good, and we're running it. So then in that 4-minute drive was maybe the best I've seen in my career, to eat the entire clock up with there's a lot of people in the box too now, and I was so tempted to throw it. I was so tempted, and kept on the thing, kept calling, it's no throw, just hand it off, and man, that was a really nice drive.
Coach, solid performance from Peyton. Still some instances there where there might have been a lack of situational awareness from him. Although it didn't matter on Saturday in the end result, those have been the types of plays and situations that have cost y'all games this season.
Yes, the only even the first interception, I know people will. But truthfully, we had a young man run the wrong route that it should have gone to him. Peyton's wanting to deliver it to Malcolm right now on the snap, and he ran the wrong route, and which is Malcolm. I just love him, man. He's going to be a phenomenal player, but he's still learning. And had he run the right route, the ball would have been out. And he came back to his progression and was a little late to it. And then I thought the guy running the progression should have shaved that route back to him. And so that was kind of iffy. So I'm not too upset over that one. And then outside of that, the only play that I thought, he short-armed that first throw to Jarquez too. So those two. But that the one right before half is the only one that is just he can't do that. And we just talked through it on the headset. We have no timeouts. It has to go out of the end zone. And we have to handle those situations better. And he knows that. And but it just, that is, we can't operate like that. And so I'm gonna meet with him today actually, and I created a special place on my call sheet for whatever he wants to make sure he throws it out of bounds or touchdown. We're going to call it something for that 15-second play that where, and they played off coverage. There was nobody going to be open, so just let it fly. He'll learn from it. I don't expect that to happen again, but that was a frustrating end to the second quarter for sure.
That is your Hugh Freeze weekly press conference presented by our friends at Evolve IT. Once again, evolvebham.com. That's evolvebhm.com, or you can call now to score your IT touchdown today.
Well, let me tell you about the Pants Store. They are your one-stop shop for all things game day with a large variety of game day tops, shorts, skirts, rompers, dresses, and so much more. And they have a game day outfit for every single team, whether you prefer neutrals or to wear the team's colors. And don't forget, if you're going into the stadium, you're going to want to get a clear bag. It makes entering so much easier. And I actually got my outfit for this past weekend at the Pants Store. And let me tell you, I got so many compliments on it. So shop online at pantstore.com or in store at one of their 6 locations in Alabama.
A very optimistic, upbeat Hugh Freeze coming off the win there in Lexington. We'll get your reactions. We'll open up the phone lines. Also, the text line 205-834-9450. It is Reaction Monday, 3-man front, and we are Jocks 94.5.
It is Reaction Monday here on Three Man Front, 1-800-239-WJOX, the courtesy GMC text line that we're about to get to, 205-834-9450.
Well, Big Whiskey's is the place for great food of all varieties with a full menu ranging from apps, salads, burgers to steaks, with their bar featuring unique cocktails, over 120 whiskeys, including whiskey on tap, and plenty of screens to catch all the games all weekend long. They also offer different food and drink specials each day of the week. They have happy hour, and the kitchen is open late every single night in the Stadium Trace Village off Highway 150 near the Hoover Met.
The text line is open, 205-834-9450. That's your best way to interact with us, and especially on a Reaction Monday. We start with the Alabama game. This listener asked, did Coach Drink really yell F you at Bama players? If so, the SEC needs to drop the hammer on him. I haven't seen any footage of it.
According to AL.com, I think you can go and there's multiple people that have tweeted out the video. It was right after the penalty where no one in America heard the whistle blow, and they tackle Brady Cook, and then the refs got together, then they dropped the flag. And during that, the AL.com cameras caught him on the sideline, and it appeared, I'm not a lip reader.
I'm pretty good at it.
But based on what I saw, most definitely it appeared that he was saying something to the opposing team, which would have been the Alabama defensive team. And he said it multiple times.
The no whistle, that how you cannot decipher either by asking each one of the officials, okay, who blew the whistle prior to the quarterback getting hit. And even as loud as Bryant Denny was at times on Saturday, it wasn't deafening. Because then you continued to hear some of the clips when they're playing it back and forth. Clear whistle can be heard in certain situations, and then on that play, no whistle at all.
I mean, just look at how the players reacted, right? And I understand a millisecond before he got hit, you saw Brady Cook kind of give up on the play like you do when a whistle's blown, but I mean, everybody was going along, acting like the play was going to happen normally. So maybe that's a sign as an official that, okay, there was a miscommunication here. And I don't know how you call them for unnecessary roughness on that. But
Anthony, an optimistic Auburn fan, says this is going to be Hugh Freeze's third time facing Jerry Keel in as many years. Will he be beat by this system 3 times in a row? He's going back to his last regular season game, I believe, when he was at Liberty, as they took on New Mexico State. Obviously, Hugh Freeze, his mind was elsewhere. Last year, the beatdown in Jordan-Hare Stadium by those same Aggies, and then Diego Pavia, now in a Vanderbilt uniform, along with Jerry Keel and an offensive coordinator coming to Jordan-Hare. Auburn a 5.5-point favorite as it stands right now. Our friend BB says, I'm confused watching Bama on offense. Why does it look like Milroe waits a second to pass off the football to a running back while the defense is amassing into a big pile of beef right in front of him? It's not like that pile is going anywhere. Does he think he's Moses splitting the Red Sea? Help me understand. Any explanation, friends, for BB?
I mean, in my opinion, a lot of the times when you see it looks like he's taking a long time, it's because the defense has good coverage, but B, as we've seen with Milroe, he's not the best at reading a defense in terms of there's a lot of times where he sees players that are open maybe a second or two too late, and that's kind of my take on it. He's just not great at reading the field sometimes. Mike
Lou from Birmingham says he's glad to see Auburn stick with the run. He's hoping he continues to stick with the run. I agree.
I watched Jarquez have, 9 carries against Vanderbilt or something. I don't think that's going to happen, but.
And statistically, Vanderbilt, they're right around the middle of the pack, stopping the run. Maybe, if I recall, 9th.
Definitely not as good of a defense as Kentucky, so.
But will they play with more passion than Kentucky did in the second half?
That's a good point.
I don't want to take away anything that Jarquez did, but and I said it to lead off the show, it looked like mid-third quarter on, that Kentucky defense, Pat, was disinterested in having anything to do with Jarquez Hunter.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very difficult finish for the Kentucky Wildcats. You saw that starting obviously in Gainesville the week before, what Auburn just did to them at home.
It's just tough when you don't seem to have any hope on offense.
No. There's no confidence whatsoever.
I'm an Auburn fan, but I can't listen to the Freeze press conference. Quit doing that 3 weeks ago. Wonder if Auburn fans have quit. We hope not.
I would think
a
this
lot of
week
good
you'd want to
things
listen.
say.
Yeah. I did like the part where he was asked about Peyton Thorne's situational awareness or lack thereof.
And he
And
laughed.
you just kind of
Yeah.
heard him laugh in the microphone.
Well,
Oops.
it's been so many of those instances already this season.
You kinda have to
that I
laugh
think
at it.
all Auburn fans are just like, really? Again? And how that happened. I know it's off of numbers and AU gets a bump being at Jordan-Hare Stadium, but how in the world is AU favored when they're -9 on turnovers this season? I was surprised that they were favored, or at least it wasn't around a pick 'em, maybe even slightly favoring Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I thought maybe 2.5, but is it still a 5.5, right? So,
When I checked this morning, it was 5.5.
So-
Yesterday when it came out, it was 5.5.
Well, and keep in mind with Auburn coming back at home, and Landrum just mentioned it, Vandy is 9th against the run in the SEC. Vandy's overall defense, I think, is like 12th or 13th. So to
Your
me,
best
it's just
recipe against Vanderbilt is controlling that clock. Can
Mhm.
you have sustained drives, keeping Pavia off the field, because he's going to get his. But I think there's a lot of things that they can build on, especially on the defensive side, and getting those guys some confidence. That was a group that was flying around on Saturday night.
Vandy did get banged up a little bit against Texas as well, so.
They never quit, though. Golly, they play well together.
Yes, they
They
do.
play for each other. You don't see that every day in college football these days. We appreciate the text. We'll continue with your text, 205-834-9450. A little bit of a shakeup here on Reaction Monday. 5 questions from Pat. We'll try to answer. Pat ponders on the way next.
It is 11:36 here on Reaction Money, Jocks 94.5, 1-800-239-WJOX, 205-834-9450. That is the Courtesy GMC text line. No Kalen DeBoer press conference this week. He is speaking here at the Birmingham Touchdown Club.
Well, at Twin Peaks and Hoover, you don't have to wait for the weekend to get their delicious late night bites because each and every day for you, Monday through Sunday, they can serve up quality scratch food for you and pour you their delicious cocktails each and every day after dark. So go visit our friends at Twin Peaks and Hoover, order a 29-degree man-sized draft and some of their delicious bites any day after dark for the best late night in the league. Again, that's at Twin Peaks and Hoover.
Pat asks the questions. We try to answer. This is Pat Ponders.
I want to know what you're thinking. Tell me what's on your mind.
It's time for Pat Ponders.
Brought to you by Courtesy GMC in Trustful. Go by and see Drew Lally, Josh Gargis, and the whole gang there at Courtesy GMC, or visit them online at courtesybirmingham.com. Question number 1. Tonight is a rare sports equinox. All 4 major sports leagues will have a game tonight. Regular season games in the NFL, NBA, and the NHL, with the World Series playing Game 3 in New York. So which of the 4 sports will you consume the most of this evening?
Probably NHL.
Figures with the Yankees down 0-2.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
I'll probably divide my time. Probably more World Series, but I'm going to watch the Steelers. So, yeah, I guess game in the Bronx, see if Dodgers can do it again.
No, they need to win. The Yankees need to win so bad. I would be so upset.
So you're locked in on that the whole time?
Oh, yes. I will. I'll have the Steelers game on another screen, but yeah.
I agree. I'm split. Monday Night Football and then the World Series.
And no NBA or NHL. What's wrong with y'all?
No.
Well, is Bronny James playing tonight? He's my favorite player, so I might have to watch him. We'll see.
Because you put a bid in on that jersey, right? From the Summer League or whatever it was.
Is Ohtani going to be okay?
They say he's probable.
We'll see about that.
One shoulder. Ohtani goes deep. Oh, that's going to be magical.
I think it's going to be bad. It's not looking good right now.
Short porch. Yeah, he hits pretty well in that stadium.
Yeah, you know who doesn't? Aaron Judge for the last month. What are we paying you for?
All right, question number 2. Do you think celebrities or sports figures should endorse political candidates?
I would rather keep that out of it. So no. I would stay out of it. It's gotten so toxic. And no matter what side you're on, I just want to, and look, they have the right to do it. Don't get me wrong, but watching a movie or listening to someone's music or enjoying a show, unfortunately, subconsciously, I think that can skew, at least from my opinion of someone, when they're very outspoken politically. And I don't appreciate or view that person in the same light. So I would rather, just for my preference, my favorite actors, artists, they keep that to themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem because, I mean, they're human beings just like we are, right? Like, if they want to declare who they want to vote for, there's nothing wrong with that. I just look at it from the standpoint of, first off, if I was in that situation, I had that kind of a platform, I don't think that I would do it. And it's mainly because kind of what Landrum was talking about is, I think you should just feel very, very strongly convicted about what side you're or which side you're going to vote for if you're going to declare that publicly, because whether you mean to or not, there are people out there that, for instance, Taylor Swift, people will vote for the president simply based on who Taylor Swift said that she would vote for. And that's her right to say that out, but I just think you need to feel very convicted about it and realize the platform you have and that you will influence people's decisions whether you want to or not.
I think you just have to be careful about alienating the people who are buying your product. So if you're a local business here, and even if it's all in fun, you want to take a shot at Auburn fans, and those people are coming in your doors and they're buying your products, it's probably not a wise idea.
That's a good point.
I agree. I would prefer they stay out of it, but again, it's their right. So that's just my personal.
So, at any point in time in your life, has any type of celebrity endorsement, has that changed the likelihood of who you were going to potentially vote for?
No.
God, no.
No.
God, no.
And it's sad that it does for people, but it does.
Okay. All right, next question. Which sports team do you believe more people take the most pleasure out of watching them lose? I'm going to give you 3 teams. This is nationally. Alabama, the Yankees, or the Cowboys?
Thank God I'm not a Cowboys fan. This is
Yeah,
an awful
no kidding.
question for me.
Oh, man. I think it's the Yankees.
I would say I think they're kind of in different categories. Like, I feel like the Cowboys almost have the sympathy thing going a little bit now because it's been so long since they've done anything that people are okay with the idea of them being good again. The Yankees, they've kind of been out of it for a little while. I feel like Alabama, with the recency, though, people just hate them so much because they've been really good the most recently. But it's also college
So you're
football.
going
But it's college football.
Exactly.
That's another reason I would go Major League Baseball.
Exactly.
You got
So
more
yeah,
people
I would go with the
watching
Yankees as well.
I'm gonna go with the Cowboys.
I agree with Molly. I think it's the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Nobody could give 2 rips about the Cowboys.
Yeah, but when I'm watching a Cowboys game, to Conrad's point, we've seen it happen so much, and the repeated failures, whether it's postseason or here we go again, I just kind of gotten used to it.
Like, it's funny, but they're not viewed as a threat.
Whereas, sorry, Conrad,
realistically.
I would actively cheer for another team, bottom of the 9th, or, extra innings, bases loaded.
But that's a compliment.
Yeah, it's definitely a compliment.
Yeah.
Look at the titles that they've won.
Yeah.
They've got more titles than the other 2 that were mentioned, right? The Yankees
absolutely, yeah.
It depends on how many you're claiming, but
27.
Yankees are claiming 27.
Yes, 27.
You thought we were talking about Alabama?
I thought he was talking about.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry.
I thought he was doing Alabama, man.
Sorry, no, Yankees.
All right, final question of the day. 40 years ago today, October 28th, 1984, the New York Giants pummel touchdown favorite Washington Redskins at the Meadowlands 37-13. To celebrate the big division win by the Giants, the players, led by Jim Burt, doused head coach Bill Parcells with Gatorade at the 2-minute warning. This is the first ever recorded Gatorade shower for a winning coach. If you were a head coach after a big win, what would you want your players to shower you with?
Praise. Oh, you mean a liquid of some kind?
If you just want praise, then that's fine. I did not say it had to be a liquid. I just said, what would you want your players to shower you with?
See, I like the champagne showers that you see a lot of times in like major league sports. I think those are fun.
So champagne shower for Molly. How about you, Landrum? Milk?
Beer.
Beer.
Cold beer.
Cold beer. Mm-hmm. Not mayonnaise. Cold beer.
No, domestic cold beer.
Yeah, I'm with that. Definitely not Gatorade. It'd get way too sticky, and that would be disgusting. So yeah, beer or water. But water's boring, so beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And praise.
Pour some Pilsner on me.
I'm surprised Molly didn't say mayonnaise.
I know, she's a big mayo
She's
bowl
big
fan.
on the, Duke's mayo
Not
bowl.
me.
Just friends.
Just friends.
See, I like Molly's thinking. She's going high class.
That's right.
Give me
That's
some
right.
champagne.
It depends on what kind of champagne you get.
Well,
if you're getting a bottle of Mum's, get that at the drugstore.
But you guys going domestic beer, that's pretty tame.
Pretty tame.
Yeah.
I don't want an IPA poured on me.
Unfortunately, Conrad, I don't think you're going to have anything poured on any of your teams for this year. So
Thank you, Pat. I don't think that we are either.
I don't think Paige has to worry about going to to the local liquor store or anywhere else to get anything special for you.
There's still a chance. But yeah, I think you're right.
All right, that's today's Pat Ponders, brought to you by Courtesy GMC in Trussville. Go by and see them right off of exit 32 I-459 in Trussville.
We continue three-man front, Jocks 94.5.
It is 11:50, Jocks 94.5. One of the three-man front questions that we asked a moment ago was about should celebrities or sports people, give their endorsements for political candidates. And our good listener, Jody from Trussville, who comes to see us time to time there at the wonderful Social Taco on Tuesdays, he sent me a quote from Alice Cooper, the musician Alice Cooper. It's pretty cool. When musicians are telling people who to vote for, I think that's an abuse of power. You're telling your fans not to think for themselves, just to think like you. Rock and roll is about freedom, and that's not freedom. Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper. Hell of a golfer, too.
Yes, very much so.
Actually wears 2 gloves. You don't see that every day.
No.
Is he still touring?
I think so.
In some capacity?
I think so.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an older roof and we're thinking it may need to be replaced, you got to listen to this. Our friends at Roof Max of Hoover have a professional and affordable roof treatment scientifically proven to reduce the aging process of your asphalt roof. The average cost of replacing a roof, and a lot of times Unfortunately, because of storm damage, you could get the insurance company to kick in, but when they don't and you still need a new roof, average cost $15,000 to $20,000 out of pocket. You can pay pennies on the dollar with Roof Max of Hoover. Roof Max resaturates your old, dirty, dry shingles with a natural, bio-friendly treatment that can give you 5 more years of protection guaranteed. If you flip houses, you're a real estate agent, this is affecting the sale. Well, listen up. This is a way to do it, and to do it, once again, for pennies on the dollars. Get a free roof assessment from Roof Max of Hoover. Give them a call or text them today, 205-913-2243. 913-2243. Use promo code JOCKS for the 10% discount. Get the free roof assessment. Once again, Roof Max of Hoover, 205-913-2243.
So you just heard the Hugh Freeze press conference at 11 o'clock today. Some of the things that he pointed out during the press conference, he says that there were 6 freshmen on the field for Auburn when it stood up against Kentucky on 4 tries there at the goal line. So he's just pointing out that a lot of freshmen really stepping up in a big-time role for the Auburn football team. Said that Jarquez Hunter's second-half rushing performance, which was 214 yards against Kentucky, is a new school record. He was asked about Diego Pavia, and he kind of said with a smile, "I'm sick of seeing that quarterback." He also laughed and said because Kentucky loaded the box so often, he thought about calling some play-action shots, but as Jarquez Hunter got rolling, Freeze said that he said to his staff over the headset, no throws, just hand it off. Freeze says he'll learn more on film study this week with Diego Pavia rather than trying to use last year's New Mexico State game as motivation. Freeze said on Vanderbilt, you're basically playing Navy. Noted that Alabama had only 44 snaps against Vanderbilt in Nashville earlier this year. And then he also mentioned freshman cornerback Jay Crawford getting more comfortable every week. So we pointed out how well Crawford has been playing.
Yeah, you saw a lot of good things on the defensive side of the ball. The running game and Jarquez just cutting it loose was awesome to see. And I'm glad Hugh Freeze was saying that over the headsets, because watching that game, I'm going, if you're doing anything right now besides handing it off to number 27, you have lost your mind. They know it's coming, and there's nothing they can do about it. Nothing. Even when he was stopped momentarily around the line of scrimmage, Pat, he still go for 9 yards.
Yeah.
It was incredible. Incredible performance. Let's go to the phone lines, 800-239-WJOX. It is Reaction Monday. Greg is in Russellville. He wants to talk about that Auburn-Kentucky game. Greg, happy Monday.
Hey, man.
Hey, man. How are you?
Good morning, man.
Hey, Greg.
I'm doing real good. Enjoyed a lot of football Saturday and a little bit Sunday, too. I was going to talk about Auburn, Kentucky, but mostly Kentucky. But I was going to chime in about I run a travel agency out here, and you got to think about when you say about who you're going to vote for now, you could possibly lose half of your business.
Absolutely. I mean, it is. It's so close either way, whether you want to say something positive about Trump or say something positive about Kamala Harris, then all of a sudden, you have the potential of ostracizing half of your clientele.
Well, I know I've got like George Clooney, I had always been a fan of his, and now, he's become so vocal. I just don't even want to watch anything he has anymore. So,
well, and look, to be fair, if it's someone that you personally endorse or you're going to vote for and you hear it, it probably makes you like them even more. But I think it's probably just safe if you're just going from the business sense of it and people, buying your product, whatever it may be, to probably stay out of it. Just kind of like the Academy Awards or the award shows. I would actually tune into those, but then when they became so politicized, it took away from the whole event and the reason I tuned in.
I know probably half of my clients they go, half's going to go one way and half go the other way, and I don't want to lose customers because of it. So, But anyway, as far as the Auburn and Kentucky game, my fiance is Auburn fan, so I have to say the right things.
Yep.
But Auburn getting a win was a good thing for them. And I've always thought Hugh Freeze was a good coach. But as far as really what I wanted to talk about was Kentucky. To me, Stoops kind of looks like he is done. He looks like he's tired of being there. He has no interest in being on that sideline, and I look for him not to get fired, but I look for him to resign.
Well, one thing's for sure, it was a very, very rough week for the Stoops family with the passing of Mark Stoops' mom. So going to give him the benefit of the doubt of being there and doing all he did for his football team this week.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. I tried to take that into account, but really, really the last 3 or 4 weeks it seems that way when you watch him on the sideline. But anyway, condolences to him and his family.
It's time to recap what's trending with the three-man front. Lunch Hour Reset.
Welcome back into the Reaction Monday edition of Three-Man Front. If you missed Charlie Potter or Hugh Freeze, go check out our podcast. That will be up momentarily. And no Coach DeBoer today, but we will hear from the coach Bill Clark coming up at 1 o'clock. And if you missed it, our Twin Peaks Twitter poll question of the day, now that Auburn has ended their 4-game losing streak, what will their final regular season record be? Will they be 7-5, 6-6, 5-7, or 4-8? And right now, winning with half of our voters saying 5-7, 26% saying 4-8, 19% saying 6-6, and 5% saying 7-5.
Thank you, Molly. Go vote at the three-man front Twitter poll question of the day. So, doing the quick math, that's saying about 24% of our audience says that Auburn will still find a way to become bowl eligible. Speaking of bowl eligibility, I've seen a lot of bowl projections, and we'll have Molly's bowl projection coming up on Wednesday, but I have seen some projections for the college football playoff, Landrum, and it does not look very good for the SEC. I'm starting to see the trend now where there's only 3 teams from this conference making the college football playoff, and that is something that we most definitely did not predict about a month ago.
No, we didn't. And unlike Las Vegas, because if you look at the current Las Vegas odds, if you take the top 16 teams that they have listed as far as odds of making a 12-team playoff, they don't reflect what a lot of these projections are because they're basing that on right now, where these teams sit right now with those lines or where they've handicapped them. As opposed to these projections, they're projecting out. They're looking at a Tennessee having to take on a Georgia. They're looking at some of these other matchups we're going to get later in the season, like Ole Miss. Not that anybody's arguing that they should be in a college football playoff right now, but taking on a Georgia as well, potentially Texas A&M and Texas, what that could mean. But right now, Texas A&M is one of those 3 that they're projecting.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because if you just look at the ESPN FPI that was updated yesterday, as of right now, the probability of making the playoff, the Miami Hurricanes, 90% chance of making the playoffs. Coming in at number 2 is Oregon at 87%. Georgia at number 3, 85%. Penn State, 84%. Coming in at number 5, Texas, 75%. Then Ohio State, Indiana. Tennessee comes in with the 8th best odds, according to ESPN, to make the college football playoff. Boise State, Notre Dame, BYU. And then at number 12, which would just sneak in, they still got Alabama. According to the FPI, they've got a 53.2% chance of making the college football playoff. Meanwhile, Texas A&M, according to the FPI, they're behind Alabama at 46%. Then Iowa State, K-State, Clemson, SMU, Army. LSU fell down to 21% of potentially making the college football playoff. They still got Bama at Florida, Vandy, and Oklahoma all left on their schedule. Pittsburgh at 20%. And then finally, the last team, according to ESPN, with a legitimate shot of making the college football playoff is Ole Miss at 19.3%. They're at Arkansas, Georgia, at Florida, and then Mississippi State.
I don't know how much of the Indiana-Washington game you got to watch on Saturday.
I got to watch a good bit of it.
Indiana is a fun team to watch.
Mm-hmm. They are.
They play with so much energy. They reflect the passion of their coach, Kurt Cignetti. I know that their schedule is what it is, and they got Michigan State. They still have Michigan. I'm trying to remember, do they have Purdue?
They have Ohio State.
They do have Ohio State. I was going to say that one for
last.
Is
it in Columbus?
I can double check on that. I can't remember.
But even just watching that team play in 11-1 Indiana, I would find it hard to leave them out of a college football playoff if their only loss is a close loss to Ohio State.
Yeah. So, you got a big game in the ACC this week between Pitt and SMU. And some news coming out of Pittsburgh. I was unaware that did you realize that Eli Holstein got banged up the other night in his game against Syracuse?
Nothing significant.
According to Pat Narduzzi this morning, he says that it's highly questionable whether Eli Holstein is going to be able to play against SMU, who had to go to overtime to knock off Duke this weekend. That was going to be one of the key games in the ACC moving forward, as you've got Miami, Clemson, Pittsburgh, and SMU, all of those teams playing very good right now.
Well, if you haven't learned from Pitt already, take Pitt, ride Pitt. They're a covering machine right now. And by the way, Indiana plays at Ohio State coming up November 23rd.
At Ohio State.
Yeah, they're in East Lansing taking on Michigan State this weekend. Next week at home versus Michigan, November 23rd. After a bye week, they go to Columbus, and then they host Purdue on November the 30th.
Many of you always tune in at 12 noon during your lunch hour to hear Kalen DeBoer at this time, with Bama having the bye week before they go to Baton Rouge next Saturday. Kalen DeBoer is actually in Birmingham today, speaking to the Birmingham Touchdown Club. This is what he had to say immediately following his big win against the Missouri Tigers. Here's Coach Kalen DeBoer's takeaways after the win.
Every win is important, and liked the way the guys prepared all week long and got a chance
He does not talk that slow normally.
He was a little gurgly there. Under the weather. It's just, it's cold in the mornings. It gets warm in the afternoons, Pat.
All right, let's try it again. Let's see if he cleared his throat. All right, here's Kalen DeBoer after the Mizzou game.
Every win
There you go.
is important. And liked the way the guys prepared all week long and got a chance to give them a chance to go out there and have success. Didn't get a lot of points right away, but kept applying pressure in different ways once we got the field position flipped, especially I think after the interception. The momentum swinging. So, some good team football there. 3 takeaways as I see it, and none as far as giving up. So, there's always areas we can correct and be better. We got to have some better awareness with some things, just, living in the gray area on some stuff, and it's hurting us just from really, taking a big step. And I feel like we're just right on the edge. And so we'll get a chance to hash through those areas, those gray areas that a lot of times lead to penalties or just misexecution. It just can't be that every little thing that is new or happens to us is something we have to learn, a hard lesson from. And it might be just execution of a play. I'm not even talking about penalties all the time. So go back to work. And I know that where the guys' heads are at with what they did this last week, with what happened today. And, not a good time for us to have this week to get ready for LSU and, the bye. You can always find a reason for it to be a good time. And I feel it's a good time just our guys to recover physically and mentally and make the final run.
That was Kalen DeBoer immediately after his win against Mizzou. He was talking about this off week. So, they had no practice yesterday. There's no practice today. There's no practice Tuesday. And they're not practicing Friday or Saturday of this week. So this is a good opportunity for this Alabama football team to some of the guys that have been banged up to get them rested and hopefully ready for the LSU game coming up next Saturday. Kalen DeBoer on the running attack of this Alabama football team. They had 271 yards rushing against Mizzou.
Every quarterback needs a good run game, right? And so the whole weight of everything isn't on one guy's shoulders. And, there's still even more things that we can do better, and we got to stay out of situations where our backs are to the wall. Like we can't be in 1st and 25 or whatever it was, on just a simple play where we get 12. And really, not that they don't matter because there's a purpose to why they're cutting, but we can't have illegal chop blocks. We got to be clean across the board, hit that 12 yards, help Jalen out. It's an easy, nice throw, gets him into a rhythm to start a drive. Those are the type of things we got to help him. We can't have someone substituting and a route be run, and it sometimes, he doesn't make the throw that you want or he wants, but then there's other times too, other guys just got to make sure they stay the course and run the route the way it's need to be run. And everything we just got to keep learning from. The things that didn't quite click, it's really close. And, just go back to work, make those corrections, communicate, keep talking. And that's what I saw on the sideline. I saw, some receivers and Jay Mill continue to just try to iron things out, and with Cole being out, that moved some guys around. Kobe, we got even Ryan in a spot or two, probably that he hasn't practiced much. And so just, finding that level of being in sync, at the elite level is still not there yet, but I do feel like we did some things taking a step forward. But we got to continue to take the pressure off him to where every play isn't on him, run or pass.
So Alabama had 167 yards of offense in the first half against Missouri. They had 319 yards in the second half. Here's Kalen DeBoer on the difference between the first half's offensive performance and the second.
Probably a combination of a few things. Just stay in the course. Want to try to be balanced. Want to try to get different guys' touches. The field position, and just wanting to, get us out of our own territory. Not that you naturally are going to be a little bit more conservative there, but we just couldn't quite make the big play. I think we missed the big one to Kobe and missed on a couple of third downs that just off of hands. Then there's a penalty that puts you behind the sticks and backs you up a little bit. So I think the field position certainly kept us from having drives, and you have to have explosives if you're going to go the length of the field, and we just missed on those. we knew that was going to be hard when we got in the red zone. We really had to buckle down. That's frustrating when you have to walk away with field goals. But Graham did a nice job, getting a couple there in the first half, and that was good just to get some points. And then the defense just continued to, keep fighting, get the takeaways. They got put in a couple spots just because we couldn't get the field flipped, and they got off the field. So hats off to them. I thought they had a really good week of practice, considering a lot of moving parts over the last 2 to 3 weeks, especially in the back half. And I thought they went out and executed and made no excuses about how much someone was practicing and anything like that. They just knew the work had to be the work and went out there and did a nice job, made some plays, some diving interceptions and things like that. Made their breaks, and that's what I appreciate.
Also, the defense, even before Brady Cook went out, you could tell that the defense was playing a little bit more with an edge. And I think we all agree that Alabama would have won that game even if Brady Cook would have been in the game. But once he exited it became really like shooting fish in a barrel for the defense. It really was. Only 239 yards of total offense for Mizzou, 72 passing yards. They had 167 on the ground. This is what Kalen DeBoer had to talk about, his defense that shut out the first SEC team in conference play since 2020.
You're only as good as your last play, right? And it's only as good as your last game. And so there are things you make sure that you do well, and that's something that is certainly there's some good vibes when it comes to taking the football away defensively. They're hunting it, they're anticipating a little bit. So a little bit more of attacking mindset, and not so much on their heels, and just making every yard count. Wanted them to really get that shot out there. That's why I called the timeout. If there was any type of question at all, wanted to let us get our feet in the ground and be able to play football. And so wanted that for them because I know they've been working extremely hard and just staying the course, and appreciate the effort today. Really kept us right there to where once the offense then got it rolling better and found ways there, especially the latter half of the second quarter, to where we really started playing a full team game.
Just to give you an idea of the success, even if it meant a couple of first downs, if you combine 2 of Missouri's offensive drives, a total of 16 plays. 16 plays in 2 drives. One was a 9-play drive. The other was a 7-play drive. But you want to take a guess how many yards were amassed combined in those 2 drives? 16 plays, 55 yards.
Oh, wow.
So while you were giving up first down, you were still having quality downs where you were limiting what Missouri was able to do. Maybe a 4-yard pickup here, but for the majority, if you just take the averages, that's around 3 yards per play.
Yeah.
I think that's something you could hang your hat on. It wasn't a totally clean game, but you shut out an opponent. And I think the biggest thing was the running game. When we talked to Charlie earlier, I thought that Justice Haynes, not only the run that he had, but Jam Miller, you want to talk about that poor Missouri guy who's going to be on a highlight film. When they have their banquet at the end of the year and everybody collectively goes, ooh,
mm-hmm.
That was a run. And I think that you can use that moving forward, especially with LSU and their deficiencies and trying to stop the run, if that continues like we saw in College Station.
It was the first time since 2019 that Mizzou had been shut out. So it'd been a minute before that team. And you just don't see a lot of it in college football.
Especially
as I
in
mentioned,
conference.
Since 2010, it was only the 8th time that an Alabama defense, and you think about some of those really, really good Kirby Smart defenses that they had in Tuscaloosa, national championship, style defensive units that they had. And it just doesn't happen a lot. But Luther Burden, who's just an incredible talent, I think he's going to go on to the NFL and just have an incredible career. But for him to be targeted only 3 times, I don't care who's in that quarterback. Run a pop pass. Line him up in the backfield. Let him take a direct snap. I don't care. I mean, he's your best player. Use him. I mean, hand him back on a punt.
And he seems like he's the only weapon that you have in your receiving corps.
And I know Noel was out there, number 1 running back, but, they had a little bit of success early until Alabama started really putting the screws to them They're running the ball pretty well between the tackles. That has been susceptible for Alabama this year at times. But that was one of those wins. Even if Alabama, I was talking to someone, I was in Tuscaloosa doing a game Friday night, and I was talking to someone that is close to the Alabama football program, and they were just like, you know what? This team needs confidence. If this is us getting by with a 1-point win, just be it. Let's get to the bye week, try to get some guys healed up, and then go into Baton Rouge with some confidence, even if it was a 1-point win. And when you're able to shut down an SEC opponent and you do it in the style you do, and like Landrum said, the offensive running game has to make a lot of people happy. And seeing what took place in College Station on Saturday night with LSU not being able to run the football or being able to stop the run, that's got to give Alabama some confidence moving forward.
Well, I think from a psychological standpoint, Jalen Milroe, if it is just whatever had been bothering him, and maybe still was bothering him on Saturday between the ears and nothing physical, at least he knows that it's not all on him. Where he can play free, he can play loose, and knowing that he's got two running backs, an offensive line doing their job, and they're ripping off, double-digit yardage runs and having explosive plays, that makes a Jalen Milroe so dangerous, because then it's not on him to just use his legs or try to make a play at a moment when they're backed up behind the sticks. That's going to be a recipe for success. Now the key is going to be, can you build on that in the off week? Can you take that same attack into Tiger Stadium? And that's going to be a raucous environment, as we know.
Yes, and we'll talk more about that as the week and the next few days go on as we get ready for that one. Let me talk to you about a new sponsor here on Three Man Front, Abide Roofing, 205-922-7134. I recommend them 100%. And the reason why is because they have been on my roof. The guy in charge over there is a good friend of mine, Travis Lloyd. He put a new roof on my home a few years back, and he did an absolutely amazing job. Earlier this year, Travis gathered all these really talented guys, and they put together Abide Roofing. The Abide Roofing team has tons of experience and industry knowledge. They're using the absolutely best products like they did on my roof. But even more than that, they care about your experience. That means constant communication and follow-up from the Abide Roofing team. When Travis worked on my home, everything was top-notch, from the customer service to giving me a timeline of events. He even helped me jump through all the hurdles with my insurance company. He was on my roof for over 2 hours with an insurance adjuster, discussing and talking about the plan moving forward, and they were able to take care of that because of what Travis Lloyd and the Abide team does. There's a lot of roofing companies out there, but take it from me, put all your trust in Abide Roofing. The number again, 205-922-7134, or you can visit them on the website, abideroof.com.
Well, seats are warming up across the country, whether you're a head coach, maybe you're a coordinator. We'll give you the latest next on Three Man Front.
It's 12:23, Jocks 94.5 on this Reaction Monday, 1-800-239-WJOX, and the Courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450.
Well, as we move further away from the hot weather, you know your HVAC system worked overtime this summer, so make sure you're prepared for the months and years ahead with a Trane comfort system. Right now, Trane's Unstoppable event offers you peace of mind with a 10-year warranty on parts and labor with select Trane home comfort systems. To learn more, go and visit Trane.com.
So what do you get a man that turns 59 years old? Well, how about giving yourself the gift of a new defensive coordinator? Or how about a new offensive play caller? Because that's what Gus Malzahn did today on his 59th birthday. He called Ted Roof into his office and said, you know what, Ted? Appreciate everything you've done for me here. Appreciate what you did for me at Auburn. You're fired. Out the door. And then he called his offensive coordinator into the room and said, hey, Coach Harris, appreciate everything you've done for me. Not firing you, but I'm now calling the plays. So things are going swimmingly well.
They're not going
Orlando.
well in Orlando. Also, not that we were totally surprised by the outcome, but the fact that Mississippi State's defense gave up as many points and as many yards as they did. A lot of State fans now calling for Coleman Hutzler to be fired, their defensive coordinator. Now, he's known as an elite recruiter. He served at Alabama. At Florida, knows his way around the SEC. I would think that he gets another year under Levy, just based on coming into the season, Mississippi State, they had lost so much on that side of the ball. And then you're going from a, Arnett built defense to something totally different where you have an offensive-minded head coach. But this is statistically so bad. Mississippi State's defense, they're allowing 36.5 points per game and 478 yards per game. And statistically, this could be the worst defense in the history of that program.
So it's not like Joe Lee Dunn defense. Is that what you're telling me?
No, it's not. Golly, he had some dogs on that side of the ball.
Sure did.
Woo! And get after you. But we talk about that, but on the flip side, you look at what Texas A&M was able to do. And coming back in the second half, you outscore LSU 31-6. Mike Elko, hands down, Pat, if we voted right now, should be your SEC Coach of the Year. And he's a hard guy not to like, just based on what he was able to do at Duke. I didn't think that they were going to be in the bottom of the league with him coming in, but I thought that this was potentially a 9-3, 8-4 Texas A&M team. What he's doing is incredible. But listen to him after the game. Is he taking a shot at the former head coach there in College Station?
We're very honest. We're very open. And this is a real program. It's not fake. It's not a politician running this program, talking fast and BSing everybody. This is a real program. And for all the recruits out there, this is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
Okay. That is a direct shot. You could have made the argument it wasn't until he said talking really fast.
Yeah, it was a giveaway.
He is totally taking a number 2 on Jimbo.
Can you do that impression?
No.
Oh.
No. But, Jimbo, guess what? Yeah. Guess what his penalty was for running that program or being mediocre there?
And you know what?
Big buyout.
That is a tough call at any point in time, but you got to give him major kudos because when Wigman, it just was not happening. And he goes up to Wigman on the sideline, and you can tell that he is telling him, your night's over with. I'm going to switch things up. He goes to Marcel Reed. He runs for 3 touchdowns, including 62 yards on the ground. Granted, A&M had some short fields because of the turnovers that Nussmeier had committed in the second half. But for a coach to make that change and for him to roll the dice, and, I was unaware, Molly, I really did. I had no idea that Marcel Reed played at Montgomery Bell in Nashville.
I forgot about that too, actually.
Kirk Herbstreit was talking about how his son
played with him.
Yep. Played with Marcel, and that Marcel, like as a 14-year-old, just absolutely started amazing people at how well he played at Montgomery Bell. For those that may not be familiar with Montgomery Bell, it's a private school in Nashville. And Ty Chandler played there, outstanding running back who ended up at the University of Tennessee. The Herb Streets played there. Of course, the last Herb Street is now a quarterback in Cincinnati. But all the twins.
The twins and then the one below them.
Right.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we played the twins. Hewitt Trustful actually played Montgomery Bell in Nashville a few years ago, and both the Herb Streets. We went up against them that night, in which we were victorious against Montgomery Bell. But it's a great program.
It's a great school.
Yep, sure is. And facilities were just incredible. I really honestly felt like I was at Sanford.
Oh, yeah, it's insane.
I mean, it was literally the type of architecture, their facilities for sports. It was tremendous. But he kept talking about Marcel Reed and what a great player he was at Montgomery Bell. And I had no idea. So
I totally forgot too.
I need to ask Molly about that. So, but yeah, he came in and just did a great job. But LSU could not run the ball the other night. Their sack adjusted rushing yards was 40. Now that was sack adjusted. Now, if you add in the sacks, they only netted 24 yards. So I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt by adding the sack adjusted yards, which is 40. So now the Aggies are 5-0 in the SEC for the first time ever. Even with Johnny Manziel, Mr. Football, and all that, it's the first time ever that Texas A&M has put themselves in this position. Nussmeier was 25 of 50, 405 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had those 3 interceptions, all in the second half.
Yeah, just for them to have the tale of two halves like you had, where Aaron Anderson catches that pass for LSU and takes off. And it seemed like, all right, but for Nussmeier to throw 3 picks, uncharacteristic for him. The fact that LSU was able to get after Texas A&M on the defensive side of the ball, but then Texas A&M, what was it? We're going to lean on our defense, but we're going to do what we do best, and that's run the football.
I mean, you think about the third quarter, just what a nightmare that was for LSU. You had 2 interceptions, and then you had the messed up field goal attempt.
Yeah.
I mean, it just went from bad to worse for LSU, especially there in the third quarter. More of 3-Man Front. Calls are coming in at 1-800-239-WJOX. The Courtesy GMC text line is open, 205-834-9450.
12:34 Reaction Monday. We do have Monday Night Football. Another doubleheader, or not a doubleheader. Just one game tonight, right? Pittsburgh hosting the New York Football Giants. You also have World Series, maybe a must-win for Conrad's New York Yankees as they get the first one there in the Bronx. Dodgers taking the first two games there in L.A. So you get that one tonight. You can hear the NFL right here on Jocks 94.5, so that should be a lot of fun. But, Pat, you'll be tuning in to, was it the NHL? You said that you were
No, I will not be tuning in. This is the Sports Equinox tonight. You will have all four major sports leagues in North America, NHL, NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball all being played this evening.
Well, if you're looking to upgrade and enhance your outdoor living area and landscape, our friends at Second Generation Masonry, the team for beautifying any area. Their expert team crafts durable brick, concrete, and elegant stone creations that can elevate any space, from fire pits, landscape steps, garden walls, stone patios, and walkways to custom driveways. These are your guys. Take your outdoor living area to the next level. Check out Second Generation Masonry at secondgenerationmasonry.com. Get the free quote today. Make sure you tell them Landrum from Jocks 94.5 sent you.
All right, so we were just talking about that impressive win by Texas A&M, and seeing that Texas A&M is sitting there at 5-0 atop the SEC. Georgia at 4-1. You got the Longhorns, Volunteers, and these LSU Tigers are sitting at 3-1. Meanwhile, Bama, Arkansas at 3-2. I mean, who would have had Arkansas sitting there right now at 3-2? And then you've got, oh my goodness, a logjam with teams at 2-2. Mizzou, Ole Miss, Vandy, Florida comes in at 2-2. Then you got the Gamecocks at 2-3. The Sooners, 1-4. Auburn 1-4. Kentucky now 1-5, and Mississippi State winless in conference play at 0-5.
I took the under in that Oklahoma Ole Miss game, and I got a little bit worried there in the second half. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, let's not start trading scores. And then the last, I'd say 17 minutes of that ball game played out absolutely beautifully.
Yeah, it did, especially because I had the under.
Time-consuming drives that ended in no points.
Loved it.
Flipped the field.
Jackson Dart, 311 yards for the Rebels. Ole Miss defense produced 9 sacks. 9. Sooners were up 14-10 at the half before the Rebels scored 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. Oklahoma's first game since they fired their OC. You remember that was the big news at the beginning of the week?
Seth Luttrell.
Yep, made a change. They were productive in the first half running the ball against Ole Miss. They had 113 yards. You know, Ole Miss came in as one of the best teams in America against the run. I think they were only giving up like 60-some-odd yards a game against the run. But after the second half, I guess Pete Golding went to the chalkboard and got some things figured out at halftime, because Oklahoma only had 34 yards rushing in the second half. The Sooners did not cross the 50-yard line in the second half until the middle of the fourth quarter. It's the first time since 1998 that Oklahoma have lost 3 games in a row, all by double digits. It's been a minute. The Rebels now 6-2 on the season. That very faint hope of them potentially getting into the mix for the college football playoff.
I want to stay with Oklahoma just for a second if we could, because right now it appears, given the games left on their schedule, they're going to get one. And that would be coming up this Saturday.
Against Alabama?
Versus Maine.
I was hoping, Molly, that he'd
Conrad will be at that game.
Now, maybe you can get a Missouri team in Columbia as you go on the road there. You get Alabama at home.
So give me the line right now. Alabama at Oklahoma right now.
Alabama at Oklahoma. Alabama will be a
21?
No. Not that much. 13.5.
I was going to go 14.
Okay. 2 touchdowns.
But I like Alabama in that game. You get LSU to finish the season in Baton Rouge. So, saying all of that, you can finish 5-7 if you're Venables. Oh, I know that he just got a new contract, but if there's somebody out there that maybe you've got your eye on that you think would be a good fit for that program, you go ahead and make the move.
Do you ask Lincoln Riley to come back?
$90 million.
Pay off the $90 million
buyout.
And then he comes back.
Yeah. That's tough. But for your first year, and maybe it helps a little bit, the fact that Texas has lost a game now and they got scared and maybe they have another loss coming. But if you're just doing a side-by-side, we both entered the league this year and you roll out a 5-7. And look, sorry, Auburn fans, but it probably should be 4-8 when it's all said and done. If it wasn't for Peyton Thorne throwing it to a defender for a pick six in that game in the fourth quarter. Auburn outplayed them in that game.
You just mentioned Texas. And there's been a lot of talk in this league that the SEC office really did them a huge favor by their conference opponents this year. They have remaining on their schedule Florida, at Arkansas, Kentucky.
Well, then
they finish. And then they finish at A&M.
Cool. Do you right now? If I asked you who wins that game, would you say A&M?
If they were playing this Saturday, I'm going all in on A&M.
Me too. Yeah.
I'm glad to see you guys coming over to my side of the aisle after all you guys predicted wrongly. I must say that LSU was going to beat Texas A&M.
I'll go with
only
Trace.
person on this staff, only person that predicted Texas A&M to win.
Well, it's about time.
Well, I know. I have to crow about it. But yeah, I mean, when you've got Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, and then A&M left, that's why they have a 75% chance of making the college football playoff. I'd like to see Texas.
But A&M beats them to earn a berth into the SEC championship game to face Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Be huge.
But all of this happening a year after Jimbo Fisher is fired.
So where's your thinking right now with Tennessee? Because with Tennessee sitting there with Kentucky, Mississippi State, at Georgia, UTEP, and then Vandy. Tennessee's got a 68% chance of making the college football playoff.
Well,
if they only lose to Georgia.
If they only lose to Georgia.
Is Tennessee in your opinion?
Besides the win over Alabama, you got a loss to Arkansas. That doesn't look that bad, but it took overtime to beat Florida. You're going to beat a bad Kentucky team that's not going bowling, a Mississippi State team that's not going bowling. You lose to Georgia. Let's just say you lose by 10, 14 points, and then you beat a terrible UTEP team and beat Vandy. And I know Vandy, that would be maybe their second best win that they've had this season, because NC State, how good is that win? The win over Oklahoma doesn't look that great, in which your offense struggled. But unfortunately for Alabama, if it does end up being a 10-2 Tennessee versus a 10-2 Alabama, I think the committee, they're going to put Tennessee in.
Well, yeah, I think they're going to
because of the head-to-head.
Well, yeah, not only that is the fact that Tennessee will also have a win in Nashville against Vanderbilt, something that Alabama
good point.
could not do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
800.
So they got the double whammy against Bama when it comes to that.
800-239-WJOX. Let's go to Don Don. Hey, Don Don.
Hey, guys. Happy Monday to you. You know, I'm in a good mood today.
Boy, it's been a while for you, hasn't it?
It sure has and everything. And Damien was kidding me this morning about what I said 2 weeks ago about me waiting for basketball season. But I'm back now, guys. I'm fired up and ready to go again.
Well, good. You had to be happy with the offense and Jarquez Hunter. Do you have a lot more confidence playing Vanderbilt this weekend?
I do. It's a home game, and actually the tickets are still cheap. The tickets right now on Game Time are $33 plus the fees and everything. But I'm not going and everything. I'm gonna go to the game in 2 weeks against La Monroe because I think that's gonna be a win now, Landrum. Because I'm not sure if you saw how bad South Alabama beat them.
I did. That was actually, I don't know if you watched the game like I did, but Louisiana Monroe was winning at the half, and
were they?
Yeah, the wheels came off in the second half.
Okay. Well, we're going to have another good crowd up there tomorrow, guys. And instead of me wearing Miami or Iowa or everything, I'm going to have my Auburn gear in. But I got a special visitor coming tomorrow. Everything. He's my buddy from Georgia, and he's a big Miami Hurricane fan. It's a a shame Bama Hater can't be there tomorrow because I think he's working his day shift. But by the way, Crimson Convict, if you're listening, that poem that you did the other day, that was great. That was awesome. You know, I know you guys like that too. That was a great job by Crimson Convict.
Yes.
He even had the music for it too. I was very impressed.
Yeah, he's a talented guy, that's for sure.
Hey, by the way, Pat, did you know that Alvin Henderson broke the state rushing record Friday night?
I did see that.
And everything, and he's like I think he's like 100 yards to get to 10,000 and everything. He'll be the 7th player all time, including Derrick Henry, to do that.
That's incredible.
Should he start his freshman year?
He did. He started playing as an 8th grader.
No, should he start his freshman year of college?
I don't. That's a good question, Landrum, because we're going to have Austin and Cobb back, and I'm hearing we're going after a transfer running back, so I doubt it.
Okay.
And everything, but guys, guess who I got to meet down in Biloxi Friday night?
Oh, let me guess. Vince Gill.
I'll give you. No, I wish. I'll give you a hint. It was a
Dwight Yoakam.
No, it was a
Carrot Top.
It was a
D. Martin.
No, a recruiting. Okay. Anyways, I met Deuce Knight's cousin.
Oh, Deuce Knight's, because now how in the world did you get to the point to where you knew that was Deuce Knight's relative? Like, how did that happen?
I don't even know if I want to know.
No. Good story. I'm
stalking
in the
people.
I'm in the sports book Friday night, Pat, and this guy came up to me, saw my Auburn hat, and started talking to me.
Oh, okay.
By the way, I'm Deuce Knight's cousin. I go, well, sit down. I got to talk to you. We talked for about 30 minutes, and I was keeping up with another player from Christian Clementi's high school thing. I forgot who it was, and they showed Deuce Knight's first play from scrimmage, and he threw a 63-yard touchdown pass. And I showed his cousin the video. He goes, "Yep, that's my boy." And I go, "Well, what do you think? Is he gonna? I know he's an early enrollee. Do you think he has a chance to come in and start?" "Oh yes, we definitely do. He's gonna work his butt off. He's ready to play, and we all love Auburn." And he goes. He's going to have some more surprise commitments. That Deuce is actually our lead recruiter now with Alvin Henderson. So we ain't done yet.
All right. Well, Don, winning helps, especially when you're doing it with the young players. So.
Okay. Well, guys, we got another big crew tomorrow, and everybody listening, come on up to Social Taco and join us. The mayor will be there to greet you while you guys are on the air.
Outstanding, Don. Thank you. We look forward to seeing you. Quickly, let's go to Joey. He's in Coleman. Joey, what's up?
Got some crazy scenarios for you.
Okay, we love crazy.
Tennessee beats Georgia. Now, I ain't saying it's going to happen.
Right, just a scenario.
I've seen crazier things happen. Tennessee loses to Vandy. Who you got going?
Ooh.
Who gets in the playoff out of those three teams?
That's.
Make you think.
Yes. That's a tough one. And let me throw one more crazy scenario in that situation. What if Ole Miss beats Georgia and then Tennessee beats Georgia?
Well, Georgia is for sure not going to the Atlanta or the playoff.
I think
Does Georgia not go to the playoffs?
If Tennessee beats Georgia but they lose to Vandy, oh man, would that be the two best wins? Well, two of the better wins that we've had
it would be
this
the
season.
absolute two best wins for Vandy. You're talking two top 10 wins.
Yeah.
No, I was talking about from the Tennessee side, but yeah, I see what you're saying from the Vanderbilt side. No, that makes my head want to explode.
Vandy knocks off Tennessee.
Yeah.
Because that might put them in Atlanta. Now, who thought we would be saying Vandy possibly to Atlanta? I mean, let's just be honest.
I hope we have to get to like the fifth option of the tiebreaker.
I love it. I want the chaos.
Now, have y'all done a breakdown of the actual tiebreakers?
Yes.
Because I missed it.
No, there's 6. It's head to head, and then the list goes on, and it is very detailed.
But then it comes down to a coin flip by the commissioner.
Then it comes down to a random draw. Seriously, that's the last step is random draw.
Wow. And I'm going to assume that is for the ACC and the others as well.
You know what? The ACC, I was reading an article today about, because, there's a tie right now, and they've got
Yes, I am a Canes fan.
And there some antiquated old tiebreaker that's currently on the books in the ACC where it literally, if it goes down to like the fourth or fifth tiebreaker, then it would come down to who has not appeared.
Sued their own conference?
No, it's seriously like who has not appeared in the farthest of appearing in an ACC championship game. Something like that. Something very antiquated.
If you have not brought legal action against our conference, you automatically.
If you're a member in good standing, you get
if you're
to play
happy
for the
where you
championship.
are.
Yeah.
No, Joey, you bring up some interesting scenarios, and who knows? This might be the year we get it.
Thanks, Joey. Appreciate it. More three-man front. Coach Bill Clark at the top of the hour. Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll talk to Bill Clark, get his thoughts on a very busy weekend of college football. Just think, tomorrow will be 1 week from the biggest day in this year's calendar.
Maction.
No. Well, it is Maction, but I was not thinking that.
Oh, you're talking about the election.
No.
Oh.
I'm not. Even more important than the election.
What's more important than
the
Maction?
College Football Playoff Committee?
That is correct.
Oh.
The first.
Well, there it is.
The first edition of the College Football Playoff rankings.
You see where my priorities were: Maction, election,
and then the College Football
talking
Playoff.
out of both sides of your mouth. By the way, congratulations We haven't
to me
mentioned
with
it.
my Texas A&M pick.
Your Texas, and congratulations to Coach Deion Sanders in Colorado.
Bowl eligible, baby.
They are 6-2, and there's a potential. If you look at the last 4 games of their schedule, they could finish 10-2. Right now, according to Las Vegas, they have the 4th best odds of winning the Big 12 championship.
And if you do go back and you take a look at the way the Big 12 media voted, take a look at the top 4 teams in that league that they voted.
There's a bunch of bull junk.
How bad Utah is, 1-4 now in the Big 12? The top 4 teams, I think Kansas State had to survive against Kansas. Kansas should have beat them.
Yeah.
But Kansas State was able to eke out a win against the Jayhawks.
And look at Colorado's 2 losses. One, the beatdown in Lincoln.
Well,
Nebraska.
That was a farce.
You'll have that.
That
but
was a farce.
Also, only losing by 3 to Kansas State.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your only 2 losses.
Coach of the year.
Won by 27 over Gus Malzahn in Orlando. By the way, Ted Roof, and this totally escaped me, he coached under Chizik. He was a defensive coordinator when Malzahn was the offensive coordinator.
Oh, okay.
But he was the defensive coordinator of the Cam Newton 2010 national championship team, where his team finished, I think, in total defense 55th in the country. But still got a natty.
You can be 55th when you have Cam Newton.
And it was an opportunistic defense.
They took chances.
Ask Greg McElroy.
Quite a first half for Alabama.
It was.
Till old Ingram fumbled the ball in the back of the end zone.
That was a lot like LSU's first half in College Station. And in the second half, it's like, what? Who's this? Who's this team pretending?
But Landrum, the LSU media is going to tell you that they had predicted before the season began that the Alabama game was the line of demarcation. This is an elimination game for the college football playoff.
Do you believe that?
Not based on the fact that according to ESPN's FPI, they have a 21.2% chance of making the college football playoff. Talking about LSU.
You let me down, LSU. Really disappointed. Coach Bill Clark, talking football, next on 3 Man Front. 1 o'clock, a Reaction Monday. 3-man front. Landrum, Pat, Molly, Conrad, Damian Mitchell. Now hanging out with us for the final hour. Couldn't resist.
How's it going, fellas?
It's going. It's going great. Hotty toddy, like your Ole Miss shirt there.
Yeah, hotty toddy.
Nothing super flashy about what happened in Oxford, but they got
Hey, a
the
win
dub.
is a win, brother.
Mm-hmm.
A win is a win.
That's right. We were just discussing chaos, and Joey from Coleman called in and threw out the scenario. What if Tennessee beats Georgia but loses to Vandy? Who gets in the college football playoff?
Let's hope it doesn't happen.
And I know you don't get points for when it comes to wins and losses, but for them to not go away and to battle that Texas team in Nashville, pretty remarkable. And can you imagine if they get that win over Tennessee in the rivalry game at the end of the season? What does that do for Clark Lee? Does he get another contract?
I mean, one thing's for sure. I mean, you look at their schedule, the remaining weeks. They got to go to Auburn. They got to go to LSU. Play in Tennessee. We'll see if they live up to the billing.
Speaking of billing, Coach Bill Clark joins us. He is presented by Donahue Chevrolet. Happy Monday, Coach. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing great. Let's start with some of the action that we saw. First in Tuscaloosa, Alabama against Missouri. What did you gather from Alabama defensively? Some things that you might have noticed, some tweaks from Kane Womack and just the overall effort for 60 minutes inside of Bryant-Denny.
Yeah, we talked about last week, the deal made of we're going to do more of the little things, more of the attention to detail, more accountability. And, you heard that from players talking about it. Obviously, to me, that's where everything starts. It's all about the little things and the details. That's kind of how I saw them look. I did think they had taken some steps against Tennessee, even though they didn't play as well. We're just speaking defensively now. But I thought, obviously, a really solid effort. We would have liked to have seen the Missouri quarterback. I know they didn't. They were glad he went out, but I think just as fans out there, we would have liked to have seen them against him for the length of the game. But I thought it was a great effort. Obviously, they had the big goal line stand at the end of the game, which means that's important. That's to be able to hold them to 0 points or shutout. Obviously, it doesn't get any better than that. So great effort. I thought they tackled well. I thought they got off blocks. So you could tell those things they focused on looked like they showed up.
And a historic night for Jarquez Hunter and Lexington. Just an incredible night running the football. So many Auburn fans have been wondering for most of the season, where has that been in regards to giving him the rock? Your thoughts on what Auburn was able to get that first win in the SEC as they do it on the road?
Yeah, I think minus the miscues right before half, I thought they played a very solid game. I think this was a game we knew was very important to Kentucky. Kentucky does a really good job defensively. They do a really good job against the run. So to get those yards against Kentucky, I thought was a big deal at their place and a must-win really for both teams. I think the question goes, why has he not been getting the ball more? I think they have made it really probably since the Georgia game, they've made more of an effort, but you got a guy that good, you just got to keep feeding him and feeding him and feeding him. And usually those guys, if we go back and look historically, they get better. I don't have his pitch count as far as how many carries in front of me. I know his total, but 10 after 10, after 15, even up to 20 carries, that's when those kind of backs get better.
Yeah, he had 23 carries on Saturday night, and you're right. The best backs late in the ball game, they seem to get stronger. This week, and you mentioned or last week how big the game was for both Kentucky and Auburn, but it almost seemed like while Auburn had kept the locker room together, everybody was saying all the right things and trying to stay upbeat and positive. This was one of those potential spirit breaker games. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. I think they had to have it. I think they'd done a good job of staying together and playing hard and all the things, but who knows? I guess that would just be conjecture now, but I think it was a huge game for morale. And just, when you get that close, you start thinking you can't find a way to win those games. So obviously it was a huge win for them on the road.
All right, the big matchup in the SEC. First half, it looked like LSU had Texas A&M exactly where they wanted him. And then you being a head football coach, you have been there probably numerous times where you've had to make that really difficult decision of benching your number one quarterback, going for a little bit of relief, and man, it paid off for Texas A&M. Talk a little bit about what Mike Elko was going through as a head coach to make that decision to change the head at quarterback, and then what you saw, what they were able to do the second half against LSU.
Yeah, there's two things I want to talk about. One, I want to talk about the Texas A&M side, and then let's talk about the LSU defensive side. So first, wow, that was a tough decision. This is the guy that's really brought you to your success. He's played so well up to this point, and you know what it's going to do to him. You know, you're going to kind of break his spirit a little bit, even though, that was something you of course worry about the young man, but you got to do what's best for your team. And I've been in that position before where you just have to do what you got to do. And he's going to have to, figure it out. So the decision was made, was the right decision. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You went from a real thrower to a runner, and of course, even the thrower can run some, and even the runner is going to be able to throw the ball too. But I mean, you got a true runner. So now let's flip it over to LSU. So you spent all this time all week, working on the starting quarterback, and then the backup is just totally different. And, you're going to spend a little bit of time, hey, if he comes in, these are the things he does, but you don't spend the amount of time that you need to defend true zone read. I mean, this guy's talented. He is a truly talented runner. And then you got an OC that's really, in his wheelhouse of understanding power read and zone read and all the different ways to run your quarterback coming from what he did at K-State. So I thought it was interesting on both sides. So you got the Texas A&M side, the great move and how it worked out. And then you got the LSU side where they were really defending the guy they thought it was going to be very well, but didn't have answers for the backup.
Coach Bill Clark joining us, courtesy of Donahue Chevrolet. All of our guests join us on the Buyers Right Hotline. We saw Ted Roof, defensive coordinator at UCF, relieved of his duties by Gus today. Brent Venables fires his offensive coordinator, Seth Luttrell, a week ago. You have seen these conversations play out, not you personally, but from coaches around the industry. Is that the first sign when you're letting coordinators go during the course of a season that ultimately, if things continue to go south, that you could be out that year? How do you read those two situations, Coach, in particular?
Yeah, it's a really tough deal to me. I mean, obviously, you got to really feel like it's unsalvageable to make a move midstream like that, especially if you're firing the guy. And I've seen where, okay, we've got two guys, they're both co-coordinators, and we're going, this guy's going to take a back seat to the other guy calling the plays. But when you just start removing people off the staff, that's a big deal. And I do think it's a sign. Now, there's a lot of times people have weathered this storm, and it was kind of almost like the quarterback situation where you just felt like, I don't have a choice, that we got to go make a move, especially when it's the opposite of the head coach. Notice almost every one of these are opposite the head coach. So Gus is an offensive guy. He's very involved in the offensive play calls. He's got a defensive guy running the whole defense. Vice versa, we go to Oklahoma, Venables is doing the defense, and it's his offensive guy who's basically the head coach of that unit over there. So they've got to really have guys that are really good and trust. So I can see some of it, but it sure is tough.
How weird was it, Coach? Because on your podcast and on the show every Thursday night with me, you and Landrum, we discuss how good Navy and Army is and how disciplined they were. And to see what happened to Navy and just them self-destructing and the turnover after turnover after turnover, was it so much what Notre Dame was presenting to them, or do you think those bright lights for the Navy midshipmen finally got in their eyes?
I think it was both. I really think you had a really good, you got a defensive team in Navy, and I said that early in the year. I thought they had a really good defense. You got a defense coordinator over there that knows what he's doing. You've got the personnel to defend what they're doing. So you got a coach that gets it. You got really good personnel. I think Navy, they pressed. I think, I do think maybe the lights got a little big for them because, they're getting all this attention. And then you've got a really talented team that's got, when you start talking about NIL and the best players and all that, and they really put their whole attention on you. I think it was a combination of both.
I'm like you, but and they didn't score very many. But if Blake Horvath on that run didn't show you, for people who hadn't been paying attention, Navy's quarterback, why he's so explosive and why he is feared by so many defensive coordinators, boy, he did it on that one, Coach.
Oh, no doubt. He's still a great player, and sometimes you just have those games. And just to Pat's point, I mean, you can't turn it over.
No.
I mean, you cannot turn the ball over, and that's what they did. And, it doesn't matter who you're playing. When you turn it over like they did, it's going to be bad.
It certainly is. And to Notre Dame's credit, I thought Notre Dame played their best game of the season. And even given what Navy did and the miscues on that side of the ball, that was not a Navy team that Notre Dame was overlooking. They'd maybe gotten too many press clippings and looked like the Irish they were ready to play on Saturday.
Well, let's go back. And I think look what they beating Texas A&M at Texas A&M. This is a team they stumbled. Weren't ready for Northern Illinois, but there's no doubt they're very, very talented. I think they're very talented on defense. And then you've got the really good quarterback play. They're getting better. So this is a team probably to keep an eye on. But it was one of those days for Navy who's been playing awfully well. Notre Dame just got the turnovers and really had a really good game and a game plan as well.
All right, so this is the second Monday in a row. This might be a theme developing here, Coach, that another American Athletic Conference coach has been fired. Yesterday, it was Rice's Mike Bloomgren. The week before, it was East Carolina. I know you don't like him, Landrum.
Well, no, just Rice altogether, Coach. But Bloomgren, I'm surprised he made it this long, to be honest.
But my question is, he's 24-52 at Rice. And
if they cared, he would have been gone 3 years ago.
Yeah, 2-6, and he loses to UConn on Saturday. He is getting $900,000 to walk away, so that's not bad. But my question is this: last week I asked you about the East Carolina job, what kind of job that was in your opinion. What about this Rice job in the American Athletic Conference?
We always played those guys. Obviously, they've had high academic standards. One of the years we were out, they played in the championship game. So they had some good teams. We always played them. It was very scrappy and tough, and had some guys that there was no doubt could play. I think now we're looking at commitment. I think what is this commitment? They've got a new AD, Tom McClellan, coming in there. He was at La Tech. Really good guy, and obviously had success at La Tech. So what is the commitment that Rice wants to make now? Same question we got for East Carolina. The same question for so many of these teams out there. What does your league look like as far as what you're paying coaches? What are you spending on your players? What do your facilities look like? So I think that jury is out. Maybe this tells you a little something that they don't want to wait and get so far behind in recruiting that and I don't normally like that, but Mike had a long time there. He had every opportunity, and so this is a little different than some knee-jerk reaction. I think they're getting ahead, so it's going to be a question of are they ready to commit financially on the same basis as the top teams in their league.
And Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, but Mike Bloomgren, who just got fired, he kind of cut his teeth as an OC with Christian McCaffrey and those David Shaw Stanford teams, correct?
Yes, he was an O-line. He was the O-line coach. I think he was co-coordinator. I think he was run game coordinator.
Yeah, wasn't he a tight end coach or something?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he, of course, had been, I think he was at FSU and Alabama as a GA. So, but offensively with those Stanford teams that were really good, of course, had Luck and McCaffrey. You can be a good coach with them two guys, but they did a great job through those years. That was his background. Yes.
Well, I don't know what Rice's facilities look like, but I hope that they're a lot better than that decrepit stadium they play in.
My gosh, why are you just slamming Rice?
It's awful. It's awful. There's some personal there. Anyways, that's fine.
That was a nasty football game. Very nasty.
Terrible officiating.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let those guys coach Pee Wee or ref Pee Wee game. It was terrible. Awful. Well, Coach, tell us about Donahue Chevrolet. They bring you to us every single Monday.
Yeah, I think we still got some October deals coming up. We got 10,000 off Silverado 1500s, 8,000 off Silverado 2500s, and up to 8,000 off Tahoes, which of course is what I drive. Go check those guys out, DonahueChevrolet.com. And Landrum, they have no
Dealer dock
The
fee.
thing they do not have.
Yeah, they don't have the dock
Dealer
fee.
dock
You're not
fee.
going to pay
There we
that
go.
thing. Nope.
That's right.
Not there.
Check them out.
Coach, we appreciate it. We will see you very soon and can't wait for another wonderful edition of the Bill Clark Show that appears here at 6 o'clock and across platforms everywhere, all over the world.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Bill Clark, presented by Donahue Chevrolet on the Buyer's Right Hotline. For all of your insurance, financial, and HR needs, it's Buyer's Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner. You think I was a little too strong on the Rice stuff?
I really do. We'll need to have a talk about this between the commercial breaks.
I know that you have a fondness for Rice right after Missouri.
No, at first it's Arizona State. And then Rice is right there next to him.
Well, I mean, look at the undulation out there.
Yeah, it's no doubt. When it comes to plumbing, always have a pro on standby. That's Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing, rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. They're family owned and operated. They handle everything: faucet repairs, water heater maintenance, commercial plumbing, sewer line repairs, and so much more. One call will do it all for you. Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing, 205-516-4927, or visit their website, ironmountainworld.com, for a free quote. Big or small, Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing, 205-516-4927.
We got time. Reaction Monday. It's time for you to react. 205-834-9450, 800-239-WJOX.
It is 1:20 on this Reaction Monday. Love to hear from you. 1-800-239-WJOX. The courtesy GMC text line that Landrum is about to read some of your texts That number is 205-834-9450.
That is correct, Pat. And a lot of you that are chiming in. Will, by the way, said Eli Holstein hit his head on the ground on a play and looked like he might have had a concussion. So the reason.
That's why. I was not aware of that situation, but Pat Narduzzi said this morning that they'll be watching him this week. So he's questionable for their game this week against SMU.
Back to Pat Ponders. And if you were a coach, if you had a liquid that was going to be poured on you, what would be your preference? I said beer. And then I went pour some Pilsner on me in the name of Suds. And yes, that was totally intentional.
Today's the 40th anniversary.
This guy
Damien.
liked it.
Did you know that?
Billy and Hoover did.
I did not.
40th anniversary of the first ever Gatorade bath. Bill Parcells in a win against the Washington Redskins.
Okay.
40 years ago today.
Oh, long-standing tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Jason asked the question, am I out of line thinking that Pavia should at least be considered for the Heisman?
Yeah. He's really good, but Heisman?
Let me see.
Does he mean more to his team than any other player?
All right, since he brought it up, this is the very latest Heisman odds. Dylan Gabriel, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Genty, Cade Klubnik, Shedeur Sanders, Carson Beck at number 7, Curtis Rourke in Indiana. He has better odds than Jalen Milroe, Bryson Daly, Drew Aller, Jackson Dart, and Garrett Nussmeier.
Right. So my question is Diego Pavia better than any of those quarterbacks you just named?
He does it in a different way than Bryson Daly. That guy's a beast. By the way, Notre Dame still has Army on the schedule.
Yeah.
So let's
just throwing that out there.
Just throwing that out there. I don't know. It's a fair question.
Yeah.
This
when I think
text
of Heisman Trophy, it's the best player in college football. I don't think Diego Pavia is the best player in college football.
No, but we're just talking about being in the conversation. Not being a threat to win it, but in the conversation.
Maybe Davey O'Brien. It's a quarterback award.
Is Pavia better than Garrett Nussmeier?
I would have given you a resounding yes at the beginning of the season, but now 7-8 weeks in, Diego Pavia doesn't have the turnover gene as one Garrett Nussmeier does. I don't think his arm talent is as good as Garrett Nussmeier, but I think what gives Diego the edge is his legs. I would lean Pavia in a close one.
He's a scrappy guy. Whatever it takes to get a win, an extra yard, a first down. He's just that kind of player.
I could rock with him as my quarterback.
I think a lot of people could. This text says, well, we had snow in Lexington Saturday night. Auburn won. It was a good win, and we really needed it. However, how can Auburn be favored against Vandy? Chance of snow Saturday in Auburn? 0%. That is our...
No freeze warning, huh? Along with the snow.
That is our listener that texts in every Friday when we're giving our predictions, and he says, as in Auburn's case, it's like snow. I'll believe it when I see it. Well, we did actually see an Auburn win. Let's get to the phones. Rob is in Hoover. Rob, welcome in. Hello, Rob. All right, Damien. We're going to put him on hold, and maybe he's there. Back to the text line. Jimmy says Bama beat a Missouri team with half their starters out. They're still on track to go 8-4, one game at a time, but I think LSU is going to win. Thank you, Jimmy, LSU fan, chiming in. Not really sure what that one's about.
So that texter, I guess, is assuming that they lose to LSU and then they lose to Auburn at home. So they're not losing to Mercer.
No.
And going to Oklahoma does not look like it did when the schedule first came out.
But Auburn in the Iron Bowl.
I mean, that's... Listen, before the season started, before Auburn went on the...
if Jarquez Hunter runs for 278 yards at Bryant-Denny Stadium, then I think I like Auburn's chances to have a chance to win at the end of the game.
Yeah, for sure. Have a chance.
But Auburn only scored 24 points, though.
That's kind of where I was going.
I mean, look
three
at
drives that came up with no points.
Yeah, look at the Auburn number of points scored in SEC play.
Well, I say three drives. Technically, they marched down the field, but they chose to run out the clock at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not.
I mean, we did see Auburn.
I mean, if you get into a
ago.
shootout with Alabama, who do you like there? Alabama or Auburn?
I mean, about a decade ago, you got to think they put up over 600 yards and still lost the ball game.
55-44.
Right.
What a game.
A little bit different quarterback, though.
You don't say.
Just a little bit.
You don't say.
Amari Cooper still has not been double teamed by Ellis Johnson.
What's the biggest difference between Nick Marshall and Peyton Thorne?
I don't know if Nick Marshall threw 41 interceptions in 44 games.
Oh, that's the only difference.
There's a few
They run
others.
about the same.
There's a few others.
Nick Marshall was All-State in basketball.
The best DB you had playing quarterback.
Yeah.
Not sure about Peyton Thorne. Let's go to Rob and Helena. Rob, what's up?
Hey, my apologies. Damien, I guess, had disconnect. It's
He
Rob
did.
and Helena.
Damien
Guys, I
hung up on you.
apologize. I apologize. I haven't called in a little bit. There's, life happens or what have you.
Landrum's been pretty upset at you, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Why you haven't called in?
Well, you know what? Yeah, because he hadn't been cut me off, and I know, I
miss
know
cutting
he
you
loves
off.
that.
Yeah, he doesn't want you to say roll tide at the end of the call.
Well,
but to be
right.
fair, be fair, Rob, Landrum cuts off Rob Pate a lot of times on Thursdays before Rob can say War Eagle.
He can only get out war. Oh, not.
Yeah.
No.
So he's an equal opportunity basher.
No battle cries on this show.
Would y'all agree that I have tried to lift myself to that and not really saying? In fact, the last time I said it, Conrad, you said, "Rob, are you forgetting anything?" And that's when I did it. So, all right, couple of things. All right, at the beginning of the season, when we didn't really have a thing, for a tiebreaker or anything, there could have been 8 teams at 6-2.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes. As of Friday, there was no, I think it was 9. To be honest with you, there was a possibility of 9 SEC teams finishing 6-2.
Yeah. All right. So, and it just may happen. It just might happen. And then what we're going to do? Are we going to look like fools, or are we just going to be like, all right, well, we got it, and we're going to move forward?
Well, if you keep beating yourself in SEC play, because there's already projections right now that the SEC is only going to get 3 teams in. Okay, so all this talk of us having 4 or 5 teams from the conference because everybody's beating each other up and we don't have the divisions anymore, then that ultimately could be the downfall of the SEC this year from getting more than 3 teams in.
Yeah, I totally agree. But, the Golden Girl, Laura said on Thursday, on SEC Nation, because I was there in Tuscaloosa, said there should be no less than 4. All right, forget about that. Y'all, we have a problem with officiating in the SEC.
Are you just now realizing? Wait a second, Rob. You've been watching the SEC your entire life. Are you just now recognizing that there's a problem?
Rob, this just in. We landed on the moon.
Nope. Exactly. But we don't talk about it enough. And the thing is, it feels like the daggum referees want to be on TV more than the daggum players do. Are they not getting NIL or what? Y'all, I'm sorry, but it's throughout the whole SEC. They're not picking on Alabama. They're not picking on Tennessee. They're not picking on Auburn. I reached out. I went to the Alabama game, and I'm sorry. I came home in the third quarter after it was 27-0.
Uh-huh.
And I actually watched a couple other games, Big 10, Big 12, whatever it was. And, y'all, there were hardly any flags thrown. And I'm just wondering, are we that bad in discipline, or is everybody else that good?
Just depends. There was
just a thought.
Yeah. There was a couple of times the late hit with the no whistle, you couldn't hear a whistle on the broadcast at all. And
that's the most egregious call I've ever heard in my life. Not because I'm a Bammer, but I'm telling you something right now. If that would happen to anybody else in the country, there would have been an uprising.
maybe so. Was Kalen DeBoer, was he asked about it in the post game? Because I don't.
Not that I'm aware of.
Play.
Not that I'm aware of.
I just want to know: did any player hear a whistle?
Well, here's the thing. Another one. On that punt, they said that Kalen DeBoer refused the penalty, declined the penalty when they ran into the kicker.
I thought they said that he accepted it. That's where all the confusion was. He would accept the penalty, but then also they assessed the 15-yard penalty. Is that not what you understood, Landrum?
Yeah.
No, it's not. That's not what it happened on TV. They said the referee said Alabama declined.
Right. I think the referee misspoke, and maybe he had to come back because when he misspoke, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows with that crew what we had going on Saturday? Rob, we got to run. We always appreciate the phone call.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate everything you do. I'll do my best to get up there tomorrow.
Please do. Thank you, Rob.
Quickly, the SEC has announced the television schedule for November 9th, and this is not going to come as any shock whatsoever. But the Alabama-LSU game will be a night game in Baton Rouge. Meanwhile, Georgia at Ole Miss will be the 2:30 game on ABC. The early morning game at 11 on ABC will be Florida at Texas. So you have Florida at Texas at 11. Georgia, Ole Miss at 2:30, and then the nightcap will be Alabama and LSU. I would assume that that's probably where game day is going to be for November the 9th. But meanwhile, Lane Kiffin has been voicing his displeasure today about the fact that Ole Miss has not had many night games. He's bemoaning the fact that Ole Miss has played all these day games on national television. No night games at Vaught-Hemingway, including the Georgia game. So I guess he wanted LSU. Everyone in the world knew that there was no way, shape, or form that LSU was going to play Bama at 2:30. Not in Baton Rouge. That does not happen. LSU would have absolutely put up another billboard in downtown Birmingham like they did a couple years ago when, there was targeting or not targeting or whatever it was against Alabama. Yeah. But that's a night game. Bama LSU, that is a 6:30 kickoff on November 9th.
Interesting. And looking at potential game day, I'm just scrolling through November the 9th. It's got to be Alabama and LSU, I would think. But prior to the season, how many there at ESPN would have said, there's a good chance it's going to be Florida State and Notre Dame?
Yeah, that would have been one, or even the Georgia Ole Miss game.
Or Georgia and Ole Miss.
Ole Miss should be undefeated right now, going up against Georgia. So, more Reaction Monday on this Monday. This is 3-Man Front on Jocks 94.5. 137 on this Reaction Money Jocks 94.5. You know what? By courtesy GMC this weekend. And man, the inventory, they are bursting at the seams. Love to see you there off of exit 32, off of I-459 there in Trussville next to Lowe's. Up to $15,000 off MSRP on the new 2024 GMC Sierras. Multiple to choose from. The pricing is on the Hot Elevation Premium Package with 4-wheel drive, leather interior, sunroof, 20-inch gloss black wheels, blacked out accents on the exterior, great looking truck, and even better deal on those while they last. And they've got plenty of Yukons, the Yukons and the Yukon XLs, whatever version you would like. They have got the XLs or the regular size models, the Denali's. Go by and see Drew Lawley, Josh Gargis, and the fantastic team there at Courtesy GMC in Trussville off of exit 32 I-459, or visit their inventory. Go take a look at it at courtesybirmingham.com.
A lot of reaction on Reaction Monday coming in on the text line 205-834-9450. Thomas, a great listener and a big UAB fan. Obviously, with UAB being off in football this past weekend, back at it this weekend versus Tulsa at 1:30. What a game that was. Tulsa coming back.
I was not ready for
down
it.
35-7 over UTSA.
I thought it was done.
Coach Traylor, he's falling on some hard times there in San Antonio without a quarterback who started for 7 years. Anyways, I digress. Thomas says just got back from the UAB preseason game against Western Kentucky. Between the returning starters and transfer portal guys, this season has the potential to be one of the best ever. I would absolutely love to see a full house at Bartow. A week from today, Vermont is a good team and made the NCAA tournament 3 of the last 4 years. Let's pack out Bartow on November the 4th.
Yep, taking on the Catamounts next Monday from Vermont. And this UAB team, he is absolutely right. They look good against Western Kentucky in the exhibition game. So, yeah, good times hopefully coming for the UAB Blazers this March Madness.
Would Diego Pavia be better at Auburn or Peyton Thorne? I'll go Diego.
That's not even, it's not even a
debate.
I mean, there was no LOL attached to it, so I think that that was a legitimate question, I guess.
Is this I'm not being a smart aleck. I'm asking because I can't keep up with this anymore. Is this the final year of eligibility for Peyton Thorne?
Yes, I believe so.
It is? Okay.
It should be.
Wait, it should be or?
No, it is, but like it should be as well.
So you saw where I was going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I was curious. I didn't know. I mean, heck, there's the terrible quarterback at Mizzou, Drew Pine. He's got 2 more years of eligibility left. He could play 7 years of football.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because he's had redshirt years. He had the COVID year. He gets an extra year because of the COVID year. Seriously, 7 years of football.
Technically,
for
Cam
him.
Rising has another year, but you know what? Just time to be a taxpaying citizen, big dog. It's been fun. It's been a ride.
Since Pavia owns a state, how about Pavia to Birmingham? Giddy up.
Let Diego Pavia be a Birmingham stallion. You thought of a 3-peat, 4-peat, 5-peat. Just line them up, baby.
You don't think he fits our system, Pat? And what we like to run on offense?
Listen, Pavia comes in and spends a little time with me and you and discuss what needs to be done from a quarterback standpoint.
No disrespect to Sam Hartman. No disrespect to Matt Corral, Adrian Martinez. Now, our favorite son here on the show.
Magoo.
Yeah, that's another.
Magoo is the best.
Right, for sure.
We're not going to compare those two.
But Diego Pavia, hey, giddy up, brother.
Pat B says the most likely scenario I think will play out is Texas A&M wins the rest, then loses to Texas. Texas wins out, both finish with 1 SEC loss and play back-to-back weeks. The referee said Alabama declined the running into the kicker, then it was changed to accepted when the other was ruled a dead ball foul. Thank you, Pat.
That would be something, man. Atlanta would be crazy. Be off the chain. Those two teams had to play back-to-back.
Wins the rest, then loses to Texas. That would
but you still have Georgia would have the tiebreaker over Texas.
Georgia would have and then so you get Georgia and Texas A&M.
Yeah. Unless Georgia loses to Tennessee.
Or Ole Miss. I tried to throw you a bone there.
You're just teasing me now.
I know. 205-834-9450. Jimmy wants to weigh in on Jalen Milroe. Hey, Jimmy, happy Monday.
Hey, happy Monday, you guys. Hope all is well.
Yes, sir.
I got kind of a question about could be a sticky situation. Let's say the draft is this Wednesday, NFL. Where does Jalen go if he does go? And if he doesn't go high, he comes back next year. What happens to the quarterbacks there and the ones coming in?
I would think. I think the last projection I saw for Jalen Milroe, he's gonna get drafted.
The good news for Jalen Milroe, though, is you take a guy like Jalen Hurts. Now, granted, his final year at Oklahoma, that really helped him. But look where he was selected, when he was selected.
He was the 5th overall quarterback taken in that draft. Jalen Hurts was.
Yeah.
And you saw what he did yesterday. It's an interesting and intriguing question. I believe that he would either be a late first round or definitely a second round pick. I do not see Jalen Milroe coming back to Alabama next year.
Yeah. And one other quick thing I'd like to add, the talk about Brian Kelly, if it hadn't been for Nick Saban, and I'm a Bama fan for sure. Nick Saban, 17 years, never went for 2-point conversion twice in a game. If Nick doesn't do that 2 years ago, that was kind of Brian Kelly's highlight. Would you not agree with that?
Appreciate the phone call, Jimmy.
Yeah. I mean, so far for Kelly, yeah, it would have to be that one. I mean, it propelled him into the SEC championship. I mean, he had a Heisman Trophy winner last year, but they didn't play for anything.
10-3, nowhere to go. A lot of eye-popping numbers.
It was very interesting watching and listening to the post-game shows in Baton Rouge after the game Saturday night. There was definitely a split congregation in regards to whose fault it was. Was it Elko's brilliance on what they did in the second half defensively? Was it that Garrett Nussmeier is trash? Is Brian Kelly a loser? I mean, you name it. I mean, they ran the gamut. But there was infighting with Baton Rouge fans in regards to what took place the other night between LSU and Texas A&M.
There are 3 phases to the game, and all 3 phases kind of let you down in key moments, especially in the second half. Like there is nothing that makes a coach that more upset than when a long snapper messes up on a field goal attempt. And then when your kicker was already shaky to begin with, it was really just a complete disaster on the second half.
I know there's nothing else for the kickers to do, but just the view of them sitting on the bench by themselves. I mean, not even talking to anybody, and it's just like, at least like get up and like kick a couple balls in a net. Act like you care.
Right.
Act like you're engaged in what's going on in the game or whatever the case may be. But LSU people will tell you, we predicted at the beginning of the season that this is going to be an elimination game with Alabama. Nothing has changed.
You still got a great win over an Ole Miss team. An Ole Miss team, by the way, I'm looking at their schedule, and I'm not putting it out of the realm. They could lose 3 of their final 4.
So this is why LSU has a 21% chance, according to ESPN, to make the college football playoff. Because, okay, you got Alabama. Let's say you beat Alabama. So what does that mean? You just beat a team that no doubt has the best win on their resume, but they also lost to Vanderbilt, and then they just lost to LSU. So that's a 3-loss Alabama team. Then you're going to go play Florida. You're going to beat them. Then you got Vandy at home. Then you got Oklahoma. That's the rest of LSU season. Like if you're sitting in that room trying to decide, okay, do we take Tennessee or do we take LSU? Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, the pecking order for LSU is going to be way down. So even if they were to win out, according to ESPN, they have a 21% chance of making the college football playoff.
A lot to be decided. 3-man front. We continue. Jocks 94.5.
Auburn is a favorite this weekend, taking on Diego Pavia and the Vanderbilt Commodores, who gave quite a fight to the Texas Longhorns. Just when you thought, okay, Texas has got this well in hand, Vandy made it kind of uncomfortable in the second half for Texas.
Well, and if you're doing the math, keeping score, going into this game this weekend, Diego Pavia is 2, Hugh Freeze 0. And going in there as a 5.5-point underdog. Early kick, though, 11:45 kick.
Mm-hmm. There are 8 college football unbeatens left. 8. Army, Miami, Pittsburgh, Penn State, BYU, Iowa State, Oregon, Indiana.
Indiana.
Did you see that Kurt Signetti college game day a little bit?
He's relaxed.
I could play for him any day, dog. Like he's a little bit old school, but he's got the new flavor with it.
I love
like,
Nick Saban telling the story about with the staff meeting at the end of the season saying, hey guys, Kent State's open. Anybody want it? And Kent State's the word. And Signetti's like, yeah.
Right.
Give it to me.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Guys got confidence. So for anybody, and I realize that what he's utilized out of the portal, but we're not talking about elite players that he's been able to field that team with. But it's a team that believes in their head coach. They've got all the momentum in the world right now. What a cool scene that was in Bloomington, though. With game day there, it was a Chamber of Commerce weather day. It was a beautiful day here, too.
Lee Corso Day.
Lee Corso, and just to see that place amped up. You get the pick 6 to start the game. And Taven Jackson, who started his career at Tennessee, coming in for Rourke. And I thought he did a pretty good job.
Yeah, now they're saying Rourke is probably going to be good to go this week.
That surgically repaired finger?
Mm-hmm.
What's that line? Do you know? They're at Michigan State. Just guessing.
Look, I'm coming off a 15-5 week. Yeah, I was trying to just
look at you.
Just give me a minute. Damien, you took LSU over Texas A&M, didn't you? Yeah, you did, didn't you? Yeah, the whole staff except one person. You remember that?
Yeah.
One person.
Good job, Pat.
Yeah, thanks.
Pat has he's been crowing about this for 4 hours.
He's been reeling.
He is.
Well, I mean, Damien goes on a soliloquy about the Merry Milkman and just
and the feelings have not changed.
Just bashing Texas A&M, and
it pains me to truly watch this team, and even watching them Saturday, I was like,
did you like their all black uniforms?
Yeah, it was clean. I
like their helmets.
But it's just the fact
I'm not a fan of black jerseys and black pants, but I like the black helmet.
Texas A&M is good. Like, not just good. They're a great football team. And it's just
hold on. Let's not.
They are, man.
They're not a great football team.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not, Damien.
They found it.
If they were a great team, they would have beat Notre Dame in week 1.
Well, I thought the same thing about Navy too. But it just pains me to watch Texas A&M have success. It really does. It makes me sick.
Do you have like a Texas A&M co-ed break up with you or something? Why do you hate Texas A&M?
I don't like anything about them. I mean, like, listen, I can't say too much. My school closed down, but
this is the team
that some of their traditions are a little weird. It's just,
this is an A&M team that beat Bowling Green 26-20.
If I'm not mistaken,
Arkansas by 4.
Wait a second. Hold on. Back up. The Bowling Green game. Did they not have to recover an onside kick?
I think so.
To stop Bowling Green from getting the ball back?
They did.
And they won by 10 at Mississippi State.
And this is a great football team. This is what you're telling us?
He said great.
I know that's what he said. He said great.
They knocked off a ranked team at home at night. They're great, man. They are. They're great. I'm just trying to get some juju on us so they'll lose.
I know you don't mean this. There's no way that you mean that. No way.
I just want to see them go down so bad.
If they played Georgia on a neutral site this weekend, what's the point spread?
Georgia by like 8.5.
Okay.
Well, how about this weekend playing South Carolina at Williams-Brice?
Isn't it a 2.5 point spread?
At 6:30 at night.
2.5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Little sandstorm action at night.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm gonna need Stewart and Kennard to play their mind. Like they're gonna play outside of their brains.
Don't forget to put your clocks back an hour.
Thank you, Pat.
Saturday night.
All mine are digital, so hopefully I'll wake up and everything's where they need to be.
You might just want to sleep here.
But hey, I will change my stove. I will have to check the
stove.
Yeah, check the stove. Make sure that time gonna be off a little bit. It's like, wait a minute, what time is it? Fall it back, baby. It's gonna start getting dark at like 4:30.
So you said it's 2.5, right? So what is that telling us? Is that telling us that it's a trap game or that South Carolina is a good football team?
South Carolina is a decent to good.
Decent.
Some weekends.
But A&M's great. So if A&M was great, why are they only a 2.5 point favorite?
Listen, I'm in Birmingham. I'm not Vegas. I don't know. But I would love.
But you're the one that told us they're great.
What part of
did not
Texas
say that.
A&M is so great? Just the story.
All of it.
The tradition.
Everything about it. Just great.
I will say Kyle Field was lit on Saturday night.
It was.
And that 17-7 lead at halftime, I felt so good about it. Yep. LSU just going in, handling their business.
Knives
Texas
never in
A&M throwing up all over themselves at home.
No, never in doubt.
See what happens if you take Connor Wigman out? He's got some Kellen Mond.
It's part of the plan.
Trash. Those are the tendencies.
Can you imagine if this A&M team had Johnny Football, Mike Davis?
Then they'd be great.
Or Evans.
Or Mike Evans.
Ryan
Mike
Spoke.
Davis coaching basketball. Be great.
Josh Reynolds.
They've had some talent.
A&M player. Evan Stewart, if he had to stay.
Ooh. Do you think Jimbo went out on his ranch around the old campfire and listened to the crowd roar at Kyle Field as they knocked off LSU?
He started swaying with his horse.
By the way, how was the guy who transferred from there that went to Auburn that never played? And then
Zachary Calzada.
Yeah. Where's Calzone?
I think he's at Incarnate Word. I hadn't checked.
Is he?
He was last year.
I'm going to pull up his stats.
The Auburn legend. They never took a snap.
Calzada, Incarnate Word. And good year. He's 20 touchdowns.